a pure water we drink. The temperature by pure water is
32 degrees Celsius in capital city Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Nora Gay Banton.
In Nationwide News at this hour, good economic management can nyam.
That's the response of Prime Minister Andrew Holness to critics who argue that the ordinary man is not feeling the benefits of the country's macroeconomic successes.
The average person will say, but that can, yeah. That is what is going to enable you to eat. When Unicomer and other investors come here and put down their money and employ you. And for some people, these facts are uncomfortable.
NAA aborts work on a section of Mandela Highway because of demands for extortion money.
Education Minister Favour Williams disturbed by recent incidents of violence among students.
Mayor Donovan Mitchell demands answers from the Manchester Police about nighttime curfews in the parish.
In news from the rest of the world, Guinea's president says each household is to get $200,000 immediately.
At least 11 dead after Hurricane Milton batters Florida.
In headline sports, Jamaica could give newcomer Jason Holgate a debut in crucial Nations League football showdown with Nicaragua tonight.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, will early voting increase voter turnout at elections? We will explore several other possibilities to increase voter participation with President of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, JCTU, St. Patrice Ennis, President of the Employers Federation, Wayne Chen, and a former Director of Elections, Orit Fisher.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, what can the state do to make voting easier? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio. Message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, there's a shortage of chicken. Why? Minister of Agriculture Floyd Green and CEO Jamaica Broilers Group Christopher Levy will tell us.
At 7, we check in with Jamaica's Consul General to Miami, Oliver Mayer, and Director of the Department of Emergency Management for Miami-Dade County, Pete Gomez, on the recovery after Milton slammed into Florida yesterday.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. This Thursday afternoon, Thursday, October 10, 2024.
News at 5 is brought to you by KFC's Big Deal. Order through carry-out, drive-through, delivery, WhatsApp, or the new KFC Jamaica mobile app. KFC Big Deal. Anything for the taste.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has hit back at critics who argue that the ordinary man is not feeling the benefits of the country's macroeconomic successes. He was referring to arguments that while the financial state of the country is commendable, people cannot eat the achievements. Speaking at the grand opening of Court's Drax Hall location in St. Anne today, the Prime Minister asserted that good economic management can nyam. Shalois Michael reports.
The Holness administration has touted its macroeconomic milestones as a main driver in the development of the country. But despite these achievements, many Jamaicans argue that there is a disconnect between the economic gains and their immediate needs. In an attempt to discredit the argument, Prime Minister Holness says those needs cannot be accomplished without a strong economy.
How do we get the people of the country to understand that without correcting these macroeconomic, they sound like big things outside of our understanding. But if you don't get these things right, all the other things that you complain about, you won't get them right. And what you will end up on is a cycle of unfulfilled promises. Because populist leaders will come and tell you, yeah, we're going to fix all your problems today without any reference to the economy. And then they get disappointed. Those aspirations cannot be fulfilled without having a solid economy.
The Prime Minister sought to explain that it is through foreign investments and partnerships that the country's unemployment rate is at a record low, putting more income in the pockets of ordinary Jamaicans.
The average person will say, but that can, yam. That is what is going to enable you to eat. When Unicommer and other investors come here and put down their money and employ you. And for some people, these facts are uncomfortable because it doesn't accord with the narrative and framework that they would like to see materialize. But the truth is that because of investments like these, we are pulling in more people into the economy. So yes, this nice unemployment number, this unemployment figure might sound distant to you, but this is not the same Jamaica that existed 10 years ago. This is a different Jamaica where more people have income.
The Prime Minister says the gains from macroeconomic successes are being reinvested in Jamaicans. He made mention of the reverse income tax credit as a prime example.
And that is a commitment of this government, that as we pursue the economic development and getting the macroeconomic variables right, the dividends from that, rest assured, the dividends from that will be reinvested in the people in tangible ways. That is why we did something like the reverse tax credit, never before in Jamaica's history, where the government is giving back to people who earn less than $3 million per year. Never before happened. That's a way in which we are making sure that the dividends of the good economic management reaches to the people. Yes, good economic management can yam.
Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
Minister without portfolio with responsibility for works, Robert Morgan, is condemning attempts by criminals to extort a contractor working on a section of the Mandela Highway. In a statement on Thursday, the minister says the extortion attempts have led the National Works Agency, NWA, to abort work on a section of the road.
Received reports this morning that one of our contractors who was doing preparatory work on the Mandela Highway in the vicinity of Central Village had to pause work and leave the site because thugs were demanding extortion from him. We have been in touch with the police, and the National Works Agency will be working with the police to ensure that the work continues without any interference. We have a policy position as a government that we will never allow criminals to interfere with the proper running of works in the country.
The work crew carrying out the preparatory tasks for the patching of the road left the corridor after criminals sought to extort the contractor. The work being done along the Mandela Highway forms part of the government's $3 billion Relief, Emergency Assistance and Community Help REACH program. Minister Morgan says the government intends for Jamaicans to receive the full benefits under the program and that no act of criminality will prevent this from happening.
The Prime Minister has been clear on several occasions with these major infrastructure projects, whether it be the Montego Bay Perimeter Road, whether it be the South Coast Highway Improvement Project or any other project, that taxpayers' money will not be used to fund criminal activity. The government will never participate in extortion. The work will continue, the road will be patched, and the persons who use the road will have the benefit of their taxpayer dollars being used appropriately. We want to warn these criminals that your actions will not stop the government from carrying out the people's work. The police will be there and will ensure that the work is done.
Robert Morgan, Minister without portfolio with responsibility for works. More students have shown improved performance in the Grade 4 Primary Exit Profile PEP 4 examinations this year compared to last year's cohort. In a statement today, the Ministry of Education says improved performance was registered in mathematics, language arts, and the numeracy and literacy performance task components of the exam. Robian Williams tells us more.
A total of 33,540 students sat the PEP 4 exams this year. This included language arts and literacy on June 19 and mathematics and numeracy on June 20. In mathematics, almost 39% of students achieved proficiency or higher. That's a notable increase from 32% in 2023. Similarly, 44% of students reached proficiency or higher in language arts, up from almost 39% last year. The Education Ministry says it will release the results of the PEP4 exams on Thursday, October 10. In addition to improvements in proficiency, there has also been an increase in students achieving mastery in the numeracy and literacy performance tasks. This year, just over 65% of students achieved mastery in literacy. This is a slight improvement from the almost 65% in 2023. In numeracy, 70% reached mastery, up from 63% last year. The Education Ministry says special accommodations were made for 355 students, including extra time, assistance from prompters or scribes, preferential seating, and linguistic aids for non-native English speakers. Additionally, the exams were administered to 5 students who were hospitalized. Education Minister Favour Williams is commending the students, teachers, and parents for their collaborative efforts in driving the success of this year's PEP4 results. She praised the students' achievements, saying, quote, "Our students have shown remarkable growth in this year's PEP4 results, reflecting their hard work and determination," end quote. Robeanne Williams for Nationwide News. Tell when to go.
Meanwhile, Minister Williams says she's disturbed by recent incidents of violence among students. The minister says these include students utilizing deadly weapons against their peers. Speaking on Thursday, the Education Minister called on all stakeholders for greater vigilance to curb the violence. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
According to the Education Minister, in just a day, the ministry received 2 reports of knives being wielded by students in schools. She finds the development disturbing.
Over the past 24 hours, 2 incidents of violence among students involving knives have come to my attention. Needless to say, these acts of violence among our students are unacceptable and deeply concerning. We know that our schools do school bag searches to prevent knives, guns, and other harmful weapons from entering the school compound. We ask our principals and the safety and security teams to increase the vigilance, broaden the scope of the searches, including unannounced school bag searches during school hours.
Understanding the pressures faced by many students in the modern world, the minister is urging the nation's youth to avail themselves of numerous government counseling programs.
We also know that many of our students struggle to manage strong emotions like anger or frustration due to undeveloped emotional regulation skills and therefore may resort to aggression. So students, I implore you to access any or all of the support available at your schools.
What Ms. Williams finds even more disturbing is a recent social media post depicting an altercation between a student and a member of the constabulary. Again, she's urging greater restraint on the part of students.
Additionally, I saw a social media video of an altercation between law enforcement and a student. I'm also deeply concerned. I call on our students that in dealing with our law enforcement personnel, to comply with lawful orders promptly and do not resist or argue on the scene. This will minimize misunderstandings and reduce the potential for escalation.
The Education Minister says in instances where they've felt wronged, they should seek legal counsel after the fact rather than escalate the situation.
If you feel your rights are violated, again, do not argue on the scene. Instead, document what happened immediately after and seek legal counsel to address it formally. I call on all Jamaicans to do their part in eliminating violence among our students.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
5:15.
Rentokil Initial is the expert in pest control, air purification and hygiene services. Call today 876-926-4236.
The temperature by Rentokil is
32 degrees Celsius in capital city Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay. This is a public service announcement from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The Ministry of Health and Wellness wishes to advise awardees of the Dr. Barrington Waite Memorial Scholarship Program that the deadline to complete their bonding agreement has been extended to Friday, October 18, 2024. Awardees who face challenges with meeting the requirements of their bonding agreement are encouraged to call the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service at 876-922-8600 or visit the office at 30 National Heroes Circle, Kingston 4. They can also send an email to collet.mccausland@mof.gov.jm. That was a public service announcement from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Now to the details. Mayor of Mandeville, Donovan Mitchell, is demanding answers from the Manchester Police on the reasoning behind their implementation of night-time curfews in the parish. Mayor Mitchell was addressing Thursday's sitting of the Manchester Municipal Corporation. He says the measure is affecting commercial activities in the parish.
If we have a shooting in the town where 7 people were shot in broad daylight, why are we having curfews at night? People are killing people in broad daylight. They can kill them at any time. If we have an 80% clear-up rate, why are we still having all of these curfews? People are asking me the questions and I don't know what to tell them. Because we're now going up into the Yuletide season. People want to sell some more. And none of these persons are allowed to have their business. I went down to a restaurant on Ward Avenue, only to know that the restaurant was closed so early because they were ordered to be closed. But KC wasn't closed and Burger King wasn't closed. And these are the things that causes people to be irritated. Because you're closing the smaller restaurant. This is a restaurant. But yet the bigger ones are open.
Mayor Mitchell was referring to the fatal gun attack at the Mandeville Market on October 4. 2 people were killed. At least 5 others were injured. In a move to prevent reprisal attacks, the police have imposed 48-hour curfews in several communities in the Porous and Mandeville areas. According to the JCF's crime report, 42 people have been killed in Manchester since the start of the year. That's 12 more murders than the 30 recorded in the corresponding period last year. But Mayor Mitchell says the economic loss being faced by business operators in the parish should be considered by the police.
I am looking out for the economic situation that some of these families are undergoing. It is stressing and frustrating. Even if you don't have any drink out or whatever, the matter of curfews. Because if people shooting in broad daylight, it doesn't matter they will shoot at night too, even if there's curfews going on. Because I've seen it elsewhere, I've seen people shoot people next to a police standing up somewhere else. So we need to have some dialogue. There must be some way that the livelihood, the economic situation of this parish can be eased so that people can have a little bit better.
Donovan Mitchell, Mayor of Mandeville.
Meanwhile, Councillor for the Craighead Division, Omar Miller, says some entertainment events in Manchester are being funded by lottery scammers.
There are many persons who would have invested heavily planning their parties and so forth. And so this is a concern that I have as well.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful. As it relates to some of the opponents, Mr. Chairman, because some of the same parties them look heavily to see the same scammers and everybody who have mashed up this country come support. Right? Because we talk about money business, Mr. Chairman. At the end of the day, a lot of the persons who are putting on these activities at the same time, the persons who support heavily.
But Mayor Mitchell told Councillor Miller to sit down because there's nothing wrong with unexplained wealth.
We know, Mr. Chairman, we know if you visit and pass, you can see some of the activities, washing all them boots with Hennessy and all of those things.
Nothing is that wrong with that. Because there is nothing wrong with unexplained wealth. Sit down.
Mayor of Mandeville, Donovan Mitchell, and before him, Councillor Omar Miller.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Guyana's President Irfan Ali announced a raft of measures during a special sitting of Parliament on Thursday. Among the measures announced is a one-off payment of $200,000 to each household in the country. This allocation will cost $60 billion. President Ali told the Parliament that the payment will be made instantaneously. He also announced that no public servant will earn less than $100,000 per month. This will cost a further $1 billion. President Ali also announced that come January 2025, tuition fees will be abolished at the University of Guyana. General elections are due in Guyana next year.
At least 10 people are confirmed dead after Hurricane Milton passed through Florida. The deaths are attributed to the hurricane and tornadoes that were spawned by the storm. But the authorities warn that the total number of deaths could rise as rescue workers make their way through floodwaters and debris. More than 3 million homes and businesses are without power. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says more flooding is expected in the coming days. Florida residents are being warned not to visit areas hit by Hurricane Milton after it brought tornadoes, floods, and storm surges to the state. Rescue operations are underway with more than 20 urban search and rescue teams conducting door-to-door checks. Land access to Florida is beginning to reopen, while in the air, more than 2,000 flights have been cancelled. Milton, which has weakened and is no longer a hurricane, is moving over the Atlantic.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. Good economic management can nyam.
That's the response of Prime Minister Andrew Holness to critics who argue that the ordinary man is not feeling the benefits of the country's macroeconomic successes.
NWA aborts work on a section of Mandela Highway because of demands for extortion money.
Education Minister Favour Williams disturbed by recent incidents of violence among students.
I'm Roby Ann Williams.
And I'm Nora Gay Banton.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
News at 5 was brought to you by KFC's Big Deal. Order through carry-out, drive-thru, delivery, WhatsApp, or the new KFC Jamaica mobile app. KFC Big Deal. Anything for the taste.
Drive Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Make lasting impressions. Register now for the Make Your Mark Business and Personal Etiquette Conference set for October 30 at the Jamaica Pegasus. Sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Monographic Printers, JPS, Nationwide News Network, Supply County, Jamaica Boilers Group, From Thought to Finish, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Visual Tech Solutions, the Jamaica Observer, and Main Event Group. Come make your mark and attend the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference October 30. Call 876-978-6001 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com now to register.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Jamaica was today knocked off the top of Group B in CONCACAF Nations League A by Honduras, who defeated French Guyana by 3-2 a short while ago. The Hondurans now lead the group with 6 points, 2 more than Jamaica and Nicaragua, who will have a chance to retake group leadership when they meet in Managua at 9 o'clock Jamaica time this evening. Coach Steve McLaren says he expects no excuses, as while acknowledging that the artificial turf could have some bearing on how the team plays, the Englishman says he'll accept nothing but a top-level performance and ultimately all 3 points.
Coming here to win the game, to try to win the game always. We respect Nicaragua. I've watched a few of the games. Very good team, very comfortable in possession, always very close games, and they've collected 4 points, so they're going well in the Nations League, so we respect them, and if we have to play them on turf, we play them on turf. We have no excuses. Football is football.
That's Steve McLaren in another Nations League game which ended a short while ago. Trinidad and Tobago, they earned a 2-2 draw in Cuba. Former European champions Greece created football history today when they beat England for the first time ever. The Greeks registered a 2-1 win over the Three Lions in a European Nations League B Group 2 game at the world-famous Wembley Stadium in London. Vagilis Pavlidis scored a brace for Greece, while Jude Bellingham, he bagged England's consolation.
Pavlidis trying to tease his way through, and Greece have their first ever goal at Wembley, and immediately Pavlidis points to his arm to pay tribute to his fallen friend, dedicating his goal.
Oh, they shocked the world. And this is a shot too. Giannoulis, Solis, it's definitely a shot now.
Pavlidis finishes off for a second time, and Greece have a 2-0 lead.
Alexander-Arnold looking to send Ollie Watkins away. He tries to tee somebody up. It comes for Bellingham. Who else? When you need a late goal, a late moment of brilliance, who are you going to call?
Meanwhile, France topped Israel 4-1. Italy played out a 2-2 draw with Belgium. Ireland, under Heimer Hallgrimsson, won for the first time under his management. They beat Finland by 2-1. And Norway, on the back of an Erling Haaland double strike, defeated Slovenia by 3-0. Europe's leading players have been told they should not threaten strike action as an answer to their concerns about a congested calendar. Manchester City midfield player Rodri said last month players were close to going on strike. His comments have been supported by colleagues across Europe. Real Madrid pair Dani Carvajal and Thibaut Courtois have also said the demands being placed on them is just too much. City and Real are 2 of the 12 European clubs who will feature in next summer's expanded Club World Cup in the United States, which will not finish until July 13. Although City have not lodged a formal request, manager Josep Pep Guardiola said last Friday the English Premier League had already told them they would not be granted a delay to the start of the 2025-26 campaign, which could start just 4 weeks later. The West Indies women are now leaders of Group B at the ICC T20 World Cup after a controlled 8-wicket win over Bangladesh at the Sharjah Cricket Stadium today. The Windies have 4 points, the same as South Africa and England, but they lead on net run rate, chasing 104 to win. The Windies reached the target with 43 balls to spare. Captain Hayley Matthews made 34, Shemaine Campbell 20, and DeAndre Dottin 19 not out. Former captain Stafanie Taylor became the first West Indies player to score 1,000 runs in ICC T20 Women's World Cup with her innings of 27. However, she was forced to retire hurt due to a knee injury. Bangladesh earlier posted 103 for 8 in their 20 overs. Captain Nizir Sultana made 39 and Dilhera Akhtar made 19. Karishma Rahmarak finished with 4 for 17 and Afi Fletcher 2 for 25. Matthews says the 10-wicket defeat to South Africa was really a wake-up call for the girls.
Just our attitude at the crease, wanting to play fearlessly and wanting to take the game to, I guess, the other teams. I think we could have been stuck on the back foot after that first match, but we did want to just throw back the attack and come back at the other teams really well. And I think you can see that through our batting order, the way Kiana Joseph batted in the last match, Deandra Doughton, she's been fiery since she's been back, Chanel Henry even coming into the lineup. So I think the girls have done a great job of just being able to bounce back and really have that attitude and that fight within them. And I think, look, we're obviously going to try to take that into the next match against England. We know how crucial that is and how big of a match it is, but we want to try to have the same attitude even against the better teams as well.
That's Hayley Matthews, and that big game against England will come your way next week, Tuesday. Could be a must-win game for the West Indies, you know. And finally, in sports at this time, Harry Brook became the first English batsman for 34 years to hit a triple century in Test cricket on an astonishing fourth day against Pakistan in Multan. Brook, Joe Root and England broke a host of records. Then the visiting pace bowlers were irresistible in charging to what looked like a certain victory in the first test. Brooks' 317 is the sixth score in excess of 300 by an England batsman, and his partnership of 454 with Root, who made 262, was the fourth highest for any wicket in the history of Test cricket. A total of 823 for 7 declared is also the fourth highest ever and England's largest since 1938. It meant England took a lead of 267, a barely believable advantage considering Pakistan posted 556 in their first innings. Thus, despite the avalanche of runs on the flat pitch, Chris Wokes knocked out the off stump of Abdullah Shafiq with the first ball of Pakistan's second innings. England were rampant, Pakistan feeble. The hosts disintegrated after tea, spiraling towards a humiliating defeat on 152 for 6 at stumps. Still, 115 runs short of making England bat again. Never before has a team posted so many runs, 556 in the first innings, and could be on the verge of an innings defeat. That's amazing by England. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:31.
So where you get?
The new Popeyes blackened chicken sandwich, my girl. The flavor just hits different.
Blackened like it burn up?
Nah, man. Blackened because of the color of the Louisiana herbs and spices. Blackened like the flavor buck. No breading and the seasoning soaked deep in the chicken. But get yours and try it, cause me nah share, yeah. Get the new Popeyes blackened chicken sandwich. Limited time only.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
October 10 is World Sight Day. Did you know that over 100,000 Jamaicans suffer from visual impairment? At Imperial Optical, they believe clear sight is a basic right. That's why they're committed to providing quality eye care. Book your comprehensive eye exam today and discover advanced lenses for sharper vision, stylish frames to match your personality, and expert optometrists dedicated to your eye health. Don't let blurry vision hold you back. Visit Imperial Optical and see the world with clarity.
I don't have no time for whole heap of paperwork. That's why I downloaded and signed up for my OneJN Passport app. Get it all in one go. Download and sign up now. The temperature by the OneJN Passport app is...
Tell them cut the plastic, cut it before things get drastic. Educate Jamaica, that a feel with tactic. Yes, the reusable, no to single use. The youths, them a practice. So dash with that. Make we have a plastic free summer. Single use business, we no want. The ocean no want fi taste plastic waste. So make we find more sustainable ways to make sure. Say we have a plastic free summer. Protect the environment where we have done ya. Play your part, use plastic smart with the plastic free summer. Yeah, so we a start.
A message from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
I'm Dennis Brooks. I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Good afternoon. It's 5:35, listeners and viewers, and you're in the Cover Story. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
My name is Sanjay Lewis, and for the Cover Story, we'll be looking on this matter of early voting. And the Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown, says the secret ballot rule and connectivity challenges might be hurdles to Jamaica's electoral process transitioning to electronic voting. His intervention follows the recent Northeast St. Anne by-election that has reignited conversations about voter apathy and making the voting process more convenient.
We have looked at it in the past, and at different groupings have looked at it. That's an advantage and a disadvantage. One of the advantages is that it will greater access, yes. But the disadvantage, though, is as our laws are structured, a ballot must be cast in secrecy. In other words, how do you maintain that secrecy, for level of secrecy in terms of the cast of the ballot electronically? Also, one has to take into consideration the connectivity. A person who lives in Timbuktu district in the mountains or somewhere in a remote area, do they have the necessary connectivity to be able to access the electronic voting platform? So those are some of the things that need to be looked at.
That's Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown. Over the past 20 years, voter turnout in Jamaica has steadily declined. Historically, Jamaica had relatively high voter participation, with turnout rates exceeding 75% in the 1970s. However, since the early 2000s, turnout has fallen significantly. In the 2002 general election, voter turnout was 59%, but by the 2020 general election, this figure had dropped to just 37% of the population.
Well, several factors have contributed to this decline. Among them, widespread political disillusionment, particularly among younger voters, stemming from concerns about corruption and economic challenges. Others have lamented the inadequate time granted to vote and the hassle of traveling to the constituency where they will cast their ballot. The Director of Elections says adjusting the rules to make voting more convenient in Jamaica would take significant legislative changes.
As is structured now, the ROPA is a manual-based system. So therefore, for you to move from the manual-based system as dictated by ROPA, you'd have to now then look at amending the law to reflect the process of voting electronically. Because ROPA speaks about a ballot box, it speaks about a poll book that has to be given, it speaks about recording, etc. It speaks about issuing the ballot physically to the person and then going behind the voting booth. So as is structured now, the law is basically centered on a manual process. So for you to move from that process would require a significant amount of change to the ROPA.
Again, that is Director of Elections Glasspool Brown. He was speaking on Nationwide this morning today. Well, to discuss this further and to see how we could potentially address this issue of voter turnout, we'll be turning to President of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, JCTU, St. Patrice Ennis, President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, Wayne Chen, and former Director of Elections, Orette Fisher. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Same to you.
Gentlemen.
Same to you. Good afternoon. St. Patrice Ennis, are you there?
Yes, I am.
I feel like we're missing someone. Wayne Chen?
I'm here.
All right.
I'm here.
Okay, let's start with you, Mr. Fisher. As the former director of elections, I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard the concerns regarding the low voter turnout and the potential solutions. Was there ever any actual strategy in the works to address this that was potentially put aside?
No, I wouldn't say that there was in any significant way. What I will say is that we cannot be stuck in the past, because if you look at where our electoral process is coming from, then you understand that for the system to move forward, then changes will have to take place. So, for example, I've been in jurisdictions where early voting is used in a limited basis. Presently, we use it for special services in Jamaica and for election day workers. However, persons who have to travel, for example, will not be in the island. They have facilities where they can, in fact, apply for early balloting and are able to do so. And obviously, that would require some fleshing out and maybe changes to the rule, to the laws. But for us to be where we are now, it required changes. And I just want to say this quickly, that the low voter turnout that's attributed to voter apathy and so on. My personal view is that the days are gone when youngsters are going to be willing to go and stand in the line indefinitely to vote. So I think it could be partly solved by them having access to voting electronically. Now again, amendments to the law. Yes, that would be required. But I think invariably it's going to happen somewhere down the road, maybe not in my time. But for persons to vote and who are willing to go out and vote, you have to make it more convenient. So somewhere down the road, I think that if young persons, for example, were able to go on a device and to look at the options available, and maybe a small bio on each of the candidates would be available, that would help them to make a choice. And I'm sure that they would be more willing. But I will admit that there would be severe challenges in going that route, because the lack of trust presently in the present system in terms of the ability to defraud the system and the lack of trust of the electronic process by a lot of the older folks and some politicians, it would be a challenge. But I think that inevitably that is how it is going to be solved down the road, because the voter apathy thing is outside of just Jamaica, and I think it's people not being willing to continue to go and stand in line for hours just to vote. So that would be one aspect in terms of addressing it. Changes to the law, yes, it's a requirement, and to move forward, how to make any adjustment, that's inevitable.
Let me hear you on it, Wayne Chen. You hear Eric Fisher indicating the matter of convenience, but from an employer standpoint, would it be easier on a scheduling basis if employees can go out and vote over a period of time instead of all on the election day?
I must be frank with you. Firstly, I put this in a historical context. Jamaica has done very, very well by any global standard in terms of ensuring free and fair elections. The Electoral Commission of Jamaica is peerless globally. I mean, when I hear some of the issues, even in the United States and in many so-called advanced countries, Jamaica does not suffer those issues. I have voted in every election in Jamaica, starting back in 1976. And I can tell you that in recent elections, the turnout has not been great. There's no hours in line anymore when I vote in my hometown in Manchester and Mandeville. So there's no great obstacle. And as an employer of hundreds of people, thousands in instances in the past, it has never been a severe challenge for our workers to get time off. Certainly not in rural Jamaica, and I've operated in urban settings to go out and vote, and it has improved election by election. Yes, access for people who might be out of town or off the island may be one of the reasons for relatively low turnouts, but it's a global phenomenon. It's a generational issue. It is a turn-off of many of the democratic process. It's not in the actual voting process to the extent that some may think. That said, I am all for embracing new technologies and new ways, but we have to understand too that it also brings new threats to a system that for the last several elections, going certainly back to the 1980s, has tended to deliver good results, fair results. There was a time, I've studied these things carefully over the many years. There was a time going back when there were constituencies and polling divisions in Jamaica that registered over 100% of the number on the list. And Mr. Fisher can tell you, those were dark days. We have worked it out as a country, and we have a process that actually works. And I'm loath to change something that works better than most countries, the vast majority of countries in the world. And this is talking from a country, Jamaica, which many don't realize, as a developing country, is second only to Costa Rica in having the longest run of elections without interruption, of free and fair elections without interruption. I also want to, maybe I've lived too long. As a boy, I remember in 1968, they had a general election in Guyana, and in which they introduced overseas voting for the first time. And it became a very contentious issue because the feeling was, and subsequent investigations was, that it became a means to thwart the will of the people. And an unpopular government was elected using a new avenue for fraud. So I'm always wary of any system that does not involve the citizen taking the effort and time to turn up in person, free of duress, in the open to cast his or her ballot. We have to treat that very carefully and understand our roles as citizens to make that small sacrifice on the day to go out and vote for the government of our choice.
We're up on the break, gentlemen. I'll bring in St. Patrice Ennis after these messages.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, from luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
Does your bra ride up your back? Do your shoulders hurt from carrying the weight of your breasts? These are signs of an ill-fitting bra. When was the last time you were fitted by a bra fit specialist? The bra experts at LaBelle Femme will take care of you. Drop into the store at 53 Lady Musgrave Road, Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 to 5, and you will see the difference. Or call 876-622-6091.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Make lasting impressions. Register now for the Make Your Mark Business and Personal Etiquette Conference set for October 30 at the Jamaica Pegasus, sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Monographic Printers, JPS, Nationwide News Network, Supply County, Jamaica Boilers Group, From Thought to Finish, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Visual Tech Solutions, the Jamaica Observer, and Main Event Group. Come make your mark and attend the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference October 30. Call 876-978-6001 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com now to register.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to the cover story where we're touching on this topic, a topic we had from earlier this morning. We're just continuing the discussion of the voter turnout and how the issue of the low voter participation can be addressed here in Jamaica. We have with us the president of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, St. Patrice Ennis, president of the Jamaica Employers Federation, Wayne Chen, and former director of elections, Auret Fisher. I wanted to bring you in, St. Patrice Ennis. The matter This is me paraphrasing. Wayne Chen says the problem is not the process, it's more the voter apathy. So I want to bring you in, St. Patrice Ennis. Do you see it that way as well? That this is not, the process is perfectly fine as it is in Jamaica, maybe a few minor adjustments here and there, but what we need to address is the more deep-rooted matter of apathy.
Well, I don't think it is one or the other. And I don't think that's what he said, that it is mutually exclusive. I think he may have had a greater emphasis on apathy. But it is, but times have changed, and we must look at the process. More people are moving. More people are moving from one parish to another in terms of searching for work, in terms of going to school. And so that is something that has to be addressed in terms of how do we capture those persons to make sure that they are eligible to vote. Also, what we used to have in terms of many electoral officers going out, registering people to vote, there's less of that happening, if it is happening at all. And even if you have such a process in place, what you now have to look at is that more people are living in apartments as compared to yesteryear, and so to have access to those people is less than it would have been in years gone by, because these apartments are generally gated, secluded, and you have those kind of communities where you that doesn't allow easy access to persons and potential voters. But we must be concerned with any system or that only 37% of the electorate are participating, and then to choose a government is only 21% of those participating actually select a government to govern the rest of us. That is indeed concerning, and that brings into question the legitimacy of any government if you're only going to have 20% of your electorate choosing such a government. Because the real legitimacy of any government is the amount of people that actually it represents, actually supports it, that are actually connected. It doesn't matter what kind of system you have. It is really the connectivity between the people that it ought to represent and the government itself. That is what gives it legitimacy. It doesn't matter if you call it democracy or whatever system you want to, nomenclature you want to ascribe to that system. And so that is indeed concerning to me, that we do not have enough of our populace participating in this process. And indeed, yes, there's apathy, and that is up to many of us and the political parties to get that going. But there are things we can do now to improve and to have more persons participating in the process, like going out, getting them registered, early voting. Not many technological changes. I agree with that. That causes the question whether persons are tampering or not tampering. But there are things we can do now to improve the process, and I believe a lot of that doesn't require much legislative change.
And on the matter of early voting, how would we approach that in terms of, would it just be something open to all? Would we limit it to a certain category of workers, say government workers, etc.? What would be the strictures around utilizing that system? Put that to you, Orette Fisher.
Okay, I don't think it would be a catch-all initially, because it's a process that would have to be phased in. But before I speak to that directly, I'm saying that, for example, in terms of overseas voting, I wasn't suggesting as whether or not persons who reside overseas should have the right to vote. That's a different discussion totally. But I've been in several jurisdictions where persons who work overseas but are to the government, like in the embassies and so on, provisions are made for them to vote. Similarly, there's another jurisdiction where students are allowed to vote, but addressing from overseas. So that's, areas that could be explored, but addressing in terms of the participation, but addressing the question, that you asked directly. I would, for example, it could be started by specific groups, as you say, because initially it was only police and soldiers. Then it was moved in more recent times to include election day workers. Now, it could be a case where if persons were able to prove that they would not be in Jamaica at the time of the election, arrangements could be made for them to vote maybe on the same day. Similarly, it could be widened to include, for example, journalists, just using that as an example, who may have to work on the day and may not necessarily be able to work within the era that they are required to vote. It could be extended to include some government workers like firemen, for example. I'm just, speaking randomly here, but more careful consideration would have to be given. And then that would have to be organized and whatever it is put in place for those specific persons to vote. And the storage of the ballots after the early voting would, of course, be similar to what currently obtains in relation to the police, military, and election day ballots. And the agents are allowed to observe the process right through, including up to the storage and so on, and the distribution back out into the constituencies on the election day. So I'm not saying it's an overnight thing, but it could be a gradual process that is extended to the point where eventually persons who wish to vote early could make that application, and over whatever period, whether it's a day, 2 days, whatever it is, then those areas are set up, obviously monitored by the agents in the same way it is now, and for them to vote early. But the key thing would have to be the storage of those ballots to make sure that it's not tampered with. But at present, we don't have any issue in terms of tampering with the votes cast by the police and the military. So a similar process could be in place where persons are confident. But I maintain that because things are working as it is now, you don't just sit on your laurels and keep it that way forever. Because things are changing, people are changing, and I'm saying definitely not in my time, I don't think, but the time will come when persons will have to vote from remotely. So that's somewhere down the road. So maybe it's not something that we look at currently. And finally, in terms of lines, gentleman mentioned that, when he goes to vote, there are no lines. And I'm saying that is so because of the apathy. So if we were to go back to 70-80% voting, then there would be lines, right? So at the moment, you have to look at the reasons for the apathy, and persons seem to think that it's just a lack of interest in the political system. But I'm saying that even in other jurisdictions where people show more interest, the willingness to turn out and to vote, it's a global phenomenon. It's trending downwards. And so maybe some serious look need to be made. And I was just suggesting that if a system could be found where persons were able to vote without actually having to go into the polling station, and that would also address some of the voter apathy. I'm not saying that's the all and end all.
And that's exactly where I want to pick up with you, Wayne Cheng, because things have changed and young people are no longer interested in joining a long line or joining a line. They're not interested in traveling for anything, in a sense. And some will live outside of the parish that they're registered to vote. So, for example, live in Kingston, registered to vote in Westmoreland. Don't you think then that we have to move to early voting and also electronic voting as a means of improving the voter turnout and to get these young people involved or to be interested in the process of voting?
I am absolutely in favor of the introduction of new technology. I'm absolutely a public advocate for digital transformation. But I only want us to be mindful of, one, we have an excellent system in terms of integrity, if not convenience. A part of the principles that underlie the system is when someone turns up in person, there is a representative of each of the two major political parties. There are other voters present. So the system is credible based on many internal checks and balances. Now, I am fully with what Mr. Fisher has said. If we can come up with other ways of ensuring the integrity and trust in the system, I'm all for it, including the use of technology, including the use of new technology that ensures online transactions, all the different things, the bells and whistles that allow for financial transactions and others. If that can assure the integrity of the vote, I'm 100% for it. I'm going to say be mindful that we have a system that works very, very well in terms of integrity. Part of why I brought up the issue of 1968 and Guyana, it's not about overseas voting. It's about the danger of people not turning up in person to vote. And it's swaying the will of the people. And anybody who is interested can go back and read up all the reports of what happened there. So we move forward, of course. Progress dictates that we move forward. But we must not forget the underlying principles as to why we have reached here and have a system that works very well, save for what some are now saying is the inconvenience of people far removed from their place of abode on the voters list. And that can be fixed. We can make it easier for people to vote where they are, and they may have moved from Mandeville to Portmore, to shift their vote from Mandeville to Portmore, because the representation, as we understand it under the Westminster system, is about where you reside. So all of these things can be addressed and fixed, even as we find more ways to eliminate lines, to make it more convenient and so on. But we must not forget the underlying principles that has delivered one of the best systems in the world.
But just let me interject for 1 second. In terms of what Mr. Chen said, it is a fact that if you relocate, the law currently requires that you should transfer your vote to where you are now residing, and that is a fact. So if that was being enforced, that could, but people who grow up in a particular community sometimes don't want to move their vote from where they are, and that is a part of that problem. But additionally, persons who have two residences, like if you live in Black River, but you work in Kingston and you travel, the law also provides for you to decide where you'd like your vote to be in either of the two. Just want to point that out that that's in the law.
That's where we have to leave it, gentlemen. That we had with us the president of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, St. Patrice Ennis, the president of the Jamaica Employers Federation, Wayne Chen, and former director of elections, Orad Fisher. We thank you for your time, gentlemen. The headlines are next at 6.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
2 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has hit back at critics who argue that the ordinary man is not feeling the benefits of the country's macroeconomic successes. He was referring to arguments that while the financial state of the country is commendable, people cannot eat the achievements. In an attempt to discredit the argument, Prime Minister Holness says those needs cannot be accomplished without a strong economy.
How do we get the people of the country to understand that without correcting these macroeconomic, they sound like big things outside of our understanding. But if you don't get these things right, all the other things that you complain about, you won't get them right. And what you will end up on is a cycle of unfulfilled promises. Because populist leaders will come and tell you, yeah, we're going to fix all your problems today without any reference to the economy. And then they get disappointed. Those aspirations cannot be fulfilled without having a solid economy.
The Prime Minister says the gains from macroeconomic successes are being reinvested in Jamaicans. He made mention of the reverse income tax credit as a prime example.
And that is a commitment of this government, that as we pursue the economic development and getting the macroeconomic variables right, the dividends from that, rest assured, the dividends from that will be reinvested in the people in tangible ways. That is why we did something like the reverse tax credit. Never before in Jamaica's history, where the government is giving back to people who earn less than $3 million per year. Never before happened. That's a way in which we are making sure that the dividends of the good economic management reaches to the people. Yes, good economic management can yam.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Minister without portfolio with responsibility for works, Robert Morgan, is condemning attempts by criminals to extort a contractor working on a section of the Mandela Highway. The minister says the extortion attempts have led the National Works Agency to abort work on a section of the road.
Received reports this morning that one of our contractors who was doing preparatory work on the Mandela Highway in the vicinity of Central Village had to pause work and leave the site because thugs were demanding extortion from him. We have been in touch with the police, and the National Works Agency will be working with the police to ensure that the work continues without any interference. We have a policy position as a government that we will never allow criminals to interfere with the proper running of works in the country.
The work being done along the Mandela Highway forms part of the government's $3 billion Relief, Emergency Assistance and Community Help REACH program. Minister Morgan says no act of criminality will prevent the work from being carried out.
The Prime Minister has been clear on several occasions with these major infrastructure projects, whether it be the Montego Bay Perimeter Road, whether it be the South Coast Highway Improvement Project or any other project, that taxpayers' money will not be used to fund criminal activity. The government will never participate in extortion. The work will continue, the road will be patched, and the persons who use the road will have the benefit of their taxpayer dollars being used appropriately. We want to warn these criminals that your actions will not stop the government from carrying out the people's work. The police will be there and will ensure that the work is done.
Robert Morgan, Minister without portfolio with responsibility for works. Education Minister Favour Williams says she is disturbed by recent incidents of violence among students. She says in just a day, the ministry received 2 reports of knives being wielded by students in schools.
Over the past 24 hours, 2 incidents of violence among students involving knives have come to my attention. Needless to say, these acts of violence among our students are unacceptable and deeply concerning. We know that our schools do school bag searches to prevent knives, guns, and other harmful weapons from entering the school compound. We ask our principals and the safety and security teams to increase the vigilance, broaden the scope of the searches, including unannounced school bag searches during school hours.
Understanding the pressures faced by many students in the modern world, the minister is urging the nation's youth to avail themselves of numerous government counseling programs.
We also know that many of our students struggle to manage strong emotions like anger or frustration due to undeveloped emotional regulation skills and therefore may resort to aggression. So students, I implore you to access any or all of the support available at your schools.
Favour Williams, Education Minister. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, says there have been no reports of death or injury to members of the Jamaican diaspora living in Florida following the passage of Hurricane Milton on Wednesday.
In making note of Hurricane Milton in particular, which hit Florida, home to one of our largest diaspora populations, I want to recognize that not only are our thoughts and prayers with the community at this time, but we also report cautiously optimistically that thus far our understanding is that we have not experienced any loss of life or injury. We are cautious because we know that tornadoes were not anticipated, and we also know that sometimes persons who have been most affected are the ones who are least able to communicate that damage in the earliest hours post-disaster.
The hurricane caused widespread damage across the state, with more than 3 million homes and businesses left without power. At least 12 people have been confirmed dead as rescue and recovery efforts continue. Senator Johnson Smith says members of the diaspora affected by Milton can seek help from the Jamaican consulate in Miami.
I want to encourage persons who are able to report into the consulate on safety of their surroundings or on persons in need. Please reach out to the Consulate of Jamaica in Miami. They are the focal point for Florida, and they will be able to direct you to the authorities, relevant state or federal authorities, or to community organizations who may be willing to assist in nearby communities.
Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
Are you burning up with this summer heat? The place hot, man. Get cool now with a Hisense air conditioner. I feel good. With advanced energy-saving inverter technology and whisper quiet operation, beat this heat with Hisense. Available at Aliabra Brands Limited, 64 Hagley Park Road, or call 876-676-5951 now.
So good, so good. I got you.
The 5% Club is now taking new members. Sounds exclusive? We don't want it to be. You see, it's made up of less than 5% of women who get screened for breast cancer in our country each year. At Sagicor, we've made it our mission to help to change the statistics. In fact, with 5,000 more women getting screened, we can officially become the 6% Club. And we won't stop there. So please get checked. Early detection saves lives. Go to bit.ly/5% Club JA.
Shop and win a mega kitchen from Megamart. Spend $6,000 or more before GCT at any Megamart location and fill out the entry form provided for a chance to win a brand new stove, fridge, and microwave this Christmas from Appliance Traders Limited. Visit us on social media to win monthly prizes courtesy of Lasco, Grace Foods, and Facey Commodity Company Limited. Promotion runs from September 30 to December 6. Shop now to win a mega kitchen from Megamart. The best value by far. Conditions apply. Must be 18 years or older to enter. Authorized under Section 58(3) of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Jamaica was today knocked off the top of Group B in CONCACAF Nations League A by Honduras following their 3-2 win over French Guyana. The Hondurans now lead the group with 6 points, 2 more than Jamaica and Nicaragua, who will have a chance to retake group leadership when they meet in Managua at 9 o'clock Jamaica time this evening. Coach Steve McLaren says he expects no excuses, as while acknowledging that the artificial turf could have some bearing on how the team plays, the Englishman says he'll accept nothing but a top-level performance and ultimately all 3 points.
Coming here to win the game, to try to win the game always. We respect Nicaragua. I've watched a few of the games. Very good team, very comfortable in possession, always very close games. And they've collected 4 points, so they got it right in the Nations League. So we respect them. And if we have to play them on turf, we play them on turf. We have no excuses. Football is football.
That's Steve McLaren, national coach, in another Nations League game which ended a short time ago. Trinidad and Tobago played out a 2-2 draw with Cuba in Havana. And there's a South American qualifier going on at the moment between Venezuela and Argentina, the world champions. It's 1-1 at the minute, and they're playing in Venezuela. Several other games going on as well. Former European champions Greece, they created football history today when they beat England for the first time ever. The Greeks registered a 2-1 win over the Three Lions in a European Nations League Group B 2 game at the world-famous Wembley Stadium in London today. Vangelis Pavlidis scored a brace for Greece, while Jude Bellingham bagged England's consolation.
Pavlidis trying to tease his way through, and Greece have their first ever goal at Wembley. Pavlidis points to shot in the world. And this is a shot too. Giannoulis. Solis. It's definitely a shot now. Pavlidis finishes off for the second time. And Greece have a 2-0 lead. Alexander-Arnold looking to send Ollie Watkins away. He tries to tee somebody up. It comes for Bellingham. Who else? When you need a late goal, a late moment of brilliance, who are you going to call?
Meanwhile, France topped Israel by 4-1. Italy played out a 2-2 draw with Belgium. Ireland, under Heimer Hallgrimsson, he ticked off his first win since taking charge. They beat Finland by 2-1, and Norway, on the back of an early Haaland double strike, defeated Slovenia by 3-0. Europe's leading players have been told they should not threaten strike action as an answer to their concerns about a congested calendar. Manchester City midfield star Rodri said last month players were close to going on strike. His comments have been supported by colleagues across Europe. Real Madrid pair Dani Carvajal and Thibaut Courtois have also said the demands being placed on them is just too much. City and Real are two of the 12 European clubs who will feature in next summer's expanded Club World Cup in the United States, which will not finish until July 13. Although City have not lodged a formal request actually, manager Pep Guardiola said last Friday the English Premier League had already told them they would not be granted a delay to the start of the 2025-26 campaign, which could start just 4 weeks later. West Indies women are just now leaders of Group B at the ICC T20 World Cup after a controlled 8-wicket win over Bangladesh at the Sharjah Cricket Stadium today. The Windies have 4 points, the same as South Africa and England, but they lead on net run rate, chasing 104 to win. The Windies reached a target with 43 balls to spare. Captain Hayley Matthews made 34, Shemaine Campbell 20, and Deandra Dottin 19 not out. Former captain Stefani Taylor became the first West Indies player to score 1,000 runs in ICC T20 Women's World Cup with her innings of 27. However, she was forced to retire hurt due to a knee injury. Bangladesh earlier posted 103 for 8 in their 20 overs. Captain Najir Sultana made 39 and Dilhero Akhtar made 19. Karishma Rahmarak finished with 4 for 17. Afi Fletcher, she backed 2 for 25. Matthews says the 10-wicket defeat to South Africa in the opening game of the tournament was a wake-up call for the girls.
Just our attitude at the crease, wanting to play fearlessly and wanting to take the game to, I guess, the other teams. I think we could have been stuck on the back foot after that first match, but we did want to just throw back the attack and come back at the other teams really well. And I think you can see that through our batting order, the way Kiana Joseph batted in the last match, Deandra Dottin, she's been fiery since she's been back, Chanel Henry even coming into the lineup. So I think the girls have done a great job of just being able to bounce back and really have that attitude and that fight within them. And I think, look, we're obviously going to try to take that into the next match against England. We know how crucial that is and how big of a match it is, but we want to try to have the same attitude even against better teams as well.
It is big, Haley. It really is big. And it's next Tuesday, and the West Indies could go into that game needing to win it to get into the semi-finals. Harry Brook became the first England batter for 34 years to hit a triple century in Test cricket on an astonishing fourth day against Pakistan in Multan. Brook, Joe Root and England broke a host of records. Then the visiting pace bowlers were irresistible in charging to what looks like a certain victory in the first Test. Brooks' 317 is a sixth score in excess of 300 by an England batsman, and his partnership of 454 with Root, who made 262, was the fourth highest for any wicket in the history of the game. A total of 823 for 7 declared is also the fourth highest ever and England's largest since 1938. It meant England took a lead of 267, a barely believable advantage considering Pakistan posted 556 in their first innings. Never before has a team posted so many runs in the first innings of a Test, then gone on to lose by an innings. We could have history in making tomorrow, you know. And the West Indies players can now be selected to play in any format, Tests, T20s or one-day internationals, even if they do not play in the corresponding domestic format. Previously, West Indies players were not selected if they did not play in the domestic competition. However, Cricket West Indies Director of Cricket Miles Bascom has confirmed the new format of selection. Players have expressed interest to play in Tests, but because of the schedule of cricket, it was not possible for them to return to the Caribbean to play first-class cricket. Now, in an effort to meet the players halfway, Bascom said they are aware of the packed cricket schedules. Bascom said the old old policy could not stand up to the current intensity of a cricket schedule. And let's bring you a bit of news on football. 9 o'clock tonight, the Jamaica team will be taking on Nicaragua. We did tell you that before, so let's close out this segment here with some tennis. Analyst Cassius Watson says he was anticipating the announcement from the Mallorca, Rafa Nadal, that he's hanging up his racket in November. In a video message, Nadal declared that he would retire after representing his country, that's Spain, at the Davis Cup finals next month. Watson says Nadal barely played over the past 2 seasons because of injuries, so it seemed the 32-year-old has decided to listen to his body finally.
We saw it coming. We thought it would have come a little earlier. I thought it would have come at Roland Garros, which is, the tournament which he's been the most successful at. Still decided to continue through that, and he said that he would do it at the Olympics. He never did it at the Olympics, even after losing with Alcaraz midway the tournament, and now he's decided to do it at Davis Cup, which is odd in a way, but at the end of the day, he's clearly maybe was still holding out to think maybe he could come back for the Australian Open, but clearly now the signs are there. His body is just not up to the task to play at that level anymore.
Yeah, Cassius Watson. I had the privilege of watching Nadal against Novak Djokovic at the Olympic Games in Paris at the back end of July. It was an absolute privilege to go to Roland Garros to watch the game. But seeing Nadal live and in person playing didn't look as if he was close to anything called retirement. But then his body held up for years and finally clearly has given him the signal, and he's on his way out. All right, that's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:21.
We are the best at what we do. At Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, we supply hose fittings and tools. We guarantee we can't be beaten when price and quality are combined. You brand us the Hose and Tool Boss because we deliver the most effective industrial solutions. Come in and experience the joy of shopping with Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. Call us 876-923-3936 or visit 173 Hagley Park Road, 2 Charlesworth Crescent or Montego Bay Trade Center. Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. More than just hoses. Now open every Sunday.
Outperform, outlast, with top performance, Chakama, reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electrician. Pan select tools, 3 parts and 3 repairs. 3 parts, 3 repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply. We service what we sell.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. It's what am I say? Friday Eve. That's what I'm calling it. Friday. It's the Eve. It's Thursday. A special good evening to our friends on our YouTube platform. Thank you for tuning in. We invite you to chime in the Public Opinion. You can put your comments in the live, in the comment section on YouTube on today's Public Opinion. So let's get to it. It's something that may impact you, all of us, as voters. Over the past 20 years, voter turnout in Jamaica has steadily declined. Low voter turnout. Historically, Jamaica had relatively high voter participation, with turnout rates exceeding 75% in the 1970s. However, since the early 2000s, turnout has fallen significantly. In the 2002 general election, voter turnout was 59%, but by the 2020 general election, this figure dropped to just 37% of the population. Several factors have contributed to this decline, among them widespread political discouragement, particularly among young voters, stemming from concerns about corruption and economic challenges. Others have lamented the inadequate time granted to vote and the hassle of traveling to the constituency where they will cast their ballot. Now, Director of Elections Glasspool Brown, he says that the secret ballot rule and connectivity challenges might be hurdles to Jamaica's electoral process of transitioning to electronic voting.
We have looked at it in the past, and different groupings have looked at it. That's an advantage and a disadvantage. One of the advantages is that it will greater access, yes. But the disadvantage, though, is as our laws are structured, a ballot must be cast in secrecy. In other words, how do you maintain that secrecy, for level of secrecy in terms of the cast of the ballot electronically? Also, one has to take into consideration the connectivity. A person who lives in Timbuktu district in the mountains or somewhere in a remote area, do they have the necessary connectivity to be able to access the electronic voting platform? So those are some of the things that need to be looked at.
Those are some questions indeed that will definitely need to be addressed or looked at if it is that we're supposed to even consider the route of, electronic voting. That was Glasspool Brown, Director of Elections. So in Public Opinion this evening, with the low voter turnout that we've been experiencing over the years, 2020, I said earlier, 2020 or the general election, the figure just 37% of the population voted. We're asking you in Public Opinion this evening, what can the state do to make voting easier? That's the question. And to that, we're going to go to the social media platform, starting on Facebook, where Barry Blacks is saying, educate the voters. Winston is saying, I didn't know it was difficult for one to use a pencil to put an X beside the candidate of his or her choice. Well, that's not what we're referring to. Shins is saying, remove the X, use a tick. Remove the X and put a tick. Okay. Daphne McCreath is saying, open the polling station from 6 o'clock so that the people who vote in the morning will do so early and the employers can send people a little earlier. Indeed. Christopher Isaac says, simple. No, Christopher, we can't read that one. We can't read this one because it's alluding to vote buying and we strongly against that, Christopher Isaacs. Fabian Smith says he's not sure. Susie Q says, let us vote online or bring ballot boxes to our home for us to vote. LOL. Beva Baker says, nothing more. I think it is good the way it is right now. Philip Jackson is saying, well, I think employers have to be a part to always encourage their employees to exercise their right and also give them time to go and do so. We have to be very careful about changing the format as it is now. We could have false voting and we don't want that, don't it? Anthony Shake says vote. Wow. Dictatorship. Wow, Anthony Shakes. No, I don't know. I don't know about that one. All right, if you're just joining us, we're discussing voter apathy and how to make voting easier. That's the question we're asking you. On X, Hartis McDonald says, allow voters to place their vote in their current residence rather than having to go back to their constituency to vote. Allow university students to vote while on campus. I like this the latter part of this response, allowing university students to vote while on campus, because a lot of the students them have to just take public transportation, if you just go in their constituency to vote and then come back to school. It kind of difficult. Blazing Fire says, how much easier can we want it? What we need are more politicians who make voting exciting. These politicians are too boring and make political campaigning feel like you are at a funeral. Wow. When you say sad, political campaigning sad, I don't know if people would agree with you, those who are out there on the ground. Blazing Fire is saying that the campaigning want more charisma and that will make voters want to come out and vote. Well, we do appreciate your response. Mr. Unpredictable is saying rollout needs, then try online voting. Without that, just continue with the regular method. Jacqueline McCarthy is saying online voting, more people would no doubt vote as well. But as we heard earlier from the Director of Elections, that's a constitutional change thereabout, Roper. Bowinkle says, make election day, that's a legislative change rather. Bowinkle says, make election day a public holiday. Desmond Campbell is saying, if you want to vote, it's too easy. If you don't want to vote, it's already hard. Imagine if polling stations were giving away funds. The voter turnout would always be packed. All right. Patrick is saying voting is already very easy. Don't care. People lazy and they will never vote. What more do they want? A polling station in a them yard? Interesting comment there. If you're just joining us, what can the state do to make voting easier on our YouTube platform? Carlene Smith, here is one. Use civic education and ensure that the manifesto materializes. People want results. Sensitize them on their roles as citizens. I like Carlene Smith's response. Yeah, I like that response very much. Let me see if I can get in some more. Everall Bell says, if the voters... Okay. Okay. All right, Everall. We're talking about voting. Nitrogen is saying voting should be limited to those who pass a reasoning test. Wow. That's something. Vernon Barrett is saying voting is already easy. We should do a survey to identify the issues causing the low turnout rather than continue to speculate about the causes. Wallace says the only way to guarantee a 90% plus voters turnout is by making voting compulsory. They do it in the garrison, so make it a legal requirement. Wow. Bogues is saying people, not about country, so that's the issue. It's all about getting money. Yeah. And Kurt Buchanan is asking Carlene Smith, how much will sit and listen to your advice? Nadine Dockery here saying voting should be mandatory. Cindy Lynch, the people who don't vote are always the first to criticize when the PM do something they don't like. And Affectionate Forest here is saying that they can try mail-in ballots. Yeah? And Bogues is saying that education is key. I definitely agree. Education is key. Yeah? Thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion for this evening. Do have a wonderful day, but stay tuned. The Business Report is up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation and control solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:33. The The European Union has again delayed introducing a fingerprint and facial scan check system for non-EU citizens at any EU border. This is the business news. Now, it was due to be rolled out on November 10, but has been pushed back yet again after Germany, France, and the Netherlands said their systems were not ready. Meanwhile, sources have told the BBC that there has been no live testing of the EU's software on the UK's border systems. EU Home Affairs says there is not a new timetable for its implementation, but it would be phased in. In the currency markets, at the close of trading today, it cost 159 Jamaican dollars and 24 cents to buy $1, 207 Jamaican dollars and 74 cents to buy £1 and 116 Jamaican dollars and 8 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robeanne Williams. Good evening.
We a big deal when we touch ground. Yeah, I can see what we're pulling up. Anything for the taste what we love. Barbecue, spicy and original, flavorful, crispy, irresistible. 3-piece with the fries and a Pepsi. Go get your one big deal, stop stress me. All when we dip on the toilet, no left foot. It's a big deal. Anything for the taste of a juicy, crunchy, irresistible KFC, big deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries and Pepsi. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Looking to add a touch of elegance to your room? The Lighting World by Fosrich is having a massive lighting blowout sale. Get your wall lamps, chandeliers, ceiling lamps, fans, and more at amazingly low prices. Sale begins Sunday, September 29, with up to 50% off selected items. It's the Fosrich Lighting Blowout Sale, September 29. Shop and save only at Fosrich. Open Sundays.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis, weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Come into the parlor, there's a welcome there for you.
Welcome to the Mayor's Parlor with Desmond McKenzie.
From 1 to 6 p.m. every Sunday, you'll now get more of your favorite vintage music.
Put your head on my shoulder.
Nationwide 90 FM will transform your Sunday into a musical time machine that will take you way back.
Come on, let's go back in time.
This magic moment.
Journey into yesteryear with Desmond McKenzie in the Mayor's Parlor.
I've got the music to jog your memory and make you smile.
Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the best in vintage music.
Come into the Mayor's Parlor every Sunday between 1 and 6 p.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Those oldies but goodies reminds me of you.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Good evening, listeners, viewers. It's 6:38 and it's time for the Nation's Business. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis. Jamaica's poultry market is facing challenges as there is a shortage of chicken meat. The shortage is attributed to Hurricane Beryl's impact on small farmers who account for 30% of local poultry production. Chicken production has decreased by 50%, causing a tightening of supply in the market. Meat shops are limiting customers to 2 pounds of mixed parts. Restaurant operators increased chicken meal prices by $100 due to $6 per pound price hike. With Christmas months away, what impact will this have on consumers? Well, to help us, we're joined by the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, and also he's the Minister of Mining too. That's Floyd Green, and the CEO of Jamaica Broilers Group, Christopher Levy. Gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Even everybody. Even Chris. Even to all the listeners.
Good evening, Minister Green. That picture that was just painted is not very rosy at all. There's been a 50% increase in the 50% decrease in the amount of chicken production as a result of Hurricane Beryl.
Well, I'm not sure where you got those figures. We are doing a rapid assessment now. What we can say, I'll just walk it back a little bit. We did lose about 300,000 birds in Hurricane Beryl, right? And that would have significantly impacted our small poultry farmers, and they account for about 30% of the market. Now, clearly, a number of them, especially in Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, and other parishes, suffered significantly, but I wouldn't say that entire 30% was wiped out, but a significant amount of that would have suffered loss. Right. What we have picked up is that we've had persons reaching out to us to say that they have been having challenges getting their usual supplies of chicken in terms of their usual amounts, and that would have prompted us to sort of do a rapid assessment to see where we are in terms of supply, in terms of projections, in terms of is this a distribution issue, is this a real downturn in supply more than the tightness that we expected, and how have our interventions been impacting. So clearly we would have already distributed about 57,000 broiler chicks across our major parishes, and that would have happened over the last 4 weeks or so. So the question is now to see where we are on that recovery cycle. So I'm not sure about the 50%. We have a meeting tomorrow, and at that meeting now, the rapid assessment is normally an exploration. We engage our chicken producers, we go out into the field, we look what is happening across the retail, we engage our small poultry producers, and then we kind of get a better picture of where we are in terms of our production numbers. And then out of that rapid assessment, we have our poultry stakeholders meeting where we will look at our projections and see whether there needs to be any sort of short-term measure to treat with issues of supply. So there is tightness, but I wouldn't go as far in terms of, we have no report of a 50% downturn.
Christopher Levy, as one of the major suppliers within the country, have you seen a reduction in the production output to the country?
Yeah, but I think I want to circle back to a couple of things that I think have been a little bit maybe misinterpreted. The small farmers got the brunt of the damage of the hurricane. They represent roughly 30% of the production of the country. Of that, I think they're down roughly somewhere between 30 to 50%. So that equates to about maybe a 78, maybe 10% of overall production in the country down. So it's not a huge issue at all. The other thing is that the small farmers are rebounding aggressively. It's a part of their livelihood on an individual basis. And as a result of that, they get their lives back in order after the passage of the hurricane. And then the next thing they're going to do is put down birds, which we've seen And again, the minister referenced to that in a second, just a second ago. So there is definitely a reduced production coming out of the hurricane, but the industry is very deep and very broad. And our production has definitely increased. And we should see that coming on the market in the next, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks.
So there is some tightness in the market, but nothing as severe as being suggested.
No, absolutely nothing as severe as one would be led to think. I think it's a little bit overstated in the article that was presented in the Observer, and it was unfortunate that no producer was even referenced in the article. So it was very one-sided. As to raising of chicken prices, Best Rest Chicken, we've not raised our chicken price on whole birds and mixed parts and those things since February 23, which is a year and a half ago. So I'm not sure there are a lot of dynamics that go into making a restaurant profitable. But there again, it's a little bit, somebody has raised their prices of their meals, and then they're saying, it's because of chicken. Well, we haven't moved our chicken price, so I'm not sure where he's getting his chicken or what's happening there. So
and Minister, and Minister, there seems then to be some cause for concern, because if there are reports that individuals are increasing their prices because of a shortage of chicken, but now we're hearing from one of the major suppliers that the shortage that we're hearing is not that great, there is some cause for concern. From your ministry standpoint, have you been able to do any checks?
Sometimes, and that's why we undertake this process of what we call a rapid assessment, where we try and get the big picture. Because as you would have heard from Jamaica Broilers, there has been no increase in chicken, and checking with our other major producer, Caribbean Broilers, there has been no increase in chicken price. But again, you may take one example, and that may be a nuanced example. For example, you may have a restaurant in an area where you normally buy from small poultry players, right? Normally our smaller poultry players supply to the local community shops, to the restaurants, to the jerkman. Now, if you're in that area and you used to have 5 small poultry players, and you only have one now who has been able to get back up their operation, and everybody is going to that one for the chicken, then that person may take advantage of the opportunity, right? So it's very hard to use one example of a man saying, boy, the price that he paid was higher, and also he pushes up to look at the industry. We have seen no wide scale, and no, we haven't seen any increases, and normally our 2 major companies produce 70% of the chicken that's out there. So when they raise prices that we do see increases, and that hasn't happened.
And Christopher Levy, if there's been no increase in the price of chicken parts, and you said that you're ramping up production, so to meet the expected increase in Christmas should be no issue.
Yeah, I think based on what we see the small farmers doing and what we have in production, and again in close association with ministry, I think we should be fine for Christmas, to be quite frank. I think that the production coming on is strong, especially with the small farmers, and I think I keep referencing that because they're such an important part of this formula. And what we're seeing there is encouraging.
And Minister, from your standpoint, the same question for you.
And I know our 2 major companies have also themselves been doing some initiatives to support the small farmers rebounding. As I said, we have distributed about 57,000 birds already, and we've started now distribution of our pullets for egg farmers. We've already distributed about 4,000 of those, started in the hardest hit areas, Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth. We had a distribution up to yesterday, just getting out to help our egg farmers rebound as well. Based on what we're seeing and the fact that people have been going back out. Additionally, we did something different this time. So because of how Beryl, the sort of damage it caused, especially the wind damage, what we saw is not just birds being lost, but a lot of people losing their infrastructure. So for the first time, we programmed some money to help people rebuild their chicken houses so that they could really start again. And that has been helping. So based on those things, we do expect that we will be in a good position come Christmas. Clearly, we're still waiting to hear from the rapid assessment in terms of what's happening now. But based on what we have done so far, based on some of the work of our broiler companies, we do believe that our Christmas will be fine.
Yeah.
Then tell me, Minister, after that rapid assessment...
Just if I can interrupt.
Go ahead, Mr. Levy.
It's important to note what the Minister said. It's the first time that we've seen and experienced where the ministry, the government on a broader basis through DBJ has put money to the small farmers in particular to build. And I think it's an amazing recognition of the role that they play in the industry. Because a little small farmer growing 100 birds or 1,000 birds, it's very difficult for them to get a bank loan and financing to rebuild. Just think of how difficult that would be. So the initiative that the government through MINAG and DBJ have taken is significant in my view.
Minister, after you've completed your rapid assessment see exactly where the market lies in terms of supply and demand, what are the contingencies that exist to address not to say that there is, but if there is a shortfall in production?
So, the first thing we do anytime we have natural disaster of this nature where there is going to be a shortfall in production is focus on trying to build back local production, and that's what we've been doing. So we'll track to see where we are in that regard, and hopefully if we're progressing well and if it shows that some of the challenges that people may be having is not extensive and that we can treat with it in the normal course of what we've been doing in terms of production and the cycle and when the birds will be ready, then we keep moving as we've done in other areas. If it is that the shortfall is significant and significant enough that it's threatening access to significant protein on our markets, then we normally look to external markets. But that is for us the last resort, right? And we only do that as a supplement to local production. You see, we have, through good policy over the last decades, have been able to build a robust poultry sector. And I think when you have natural disasters of this nature, you realize just how many people are involved and how many people are impacted and how many families depend on things like rearing chickens at the back of their houses as a means to send their children to school and things of that nature. So one of the things that we want to do is ensure that we keep that robust poultry sector alive and well. So anything we do will only be supplementary if necessary.
But what are some of those long-term strategies, Minister, to ensure that part of the sector is being bolstered, because that we're prone to hurricane and these natural disasters, they will happen?
Yeah, so, again, we have some successes. We have some successes in our poultry sector. One of the things that we saw is that a lot of the bigger, more commercial chicken houses stood up to Hurricane Beryl. Were not destroyed or not damaged based on their design. So part of what we have to do is see how we can help our smaller chicken farmers in terms of some of the designs that they put in place. Sometimes the structures really, can't withstand any significant wind, and I think we have to help them to design better structures in the first place so that they can stand weather events that we're seeing now more frequently. So I definitely have to look at that. Part of what we've been doing is significant training. They did have a double blow in terms of we do have a lot of our small chicken farmers who invest in storage, right, to deal with their capacity, and some of them would have had storage, but because of the lack of electricity, that was the challenge. So I've asked the team to craft some strategies around do we need to come up with a solution to see how we can help in that instance to provide supplemental storage or things of that nature. But we have again, we probably don't talk about it enough, but we're coming from, very far ahead. We've grown our chicken production each year, definitely for the last decade. We're now supplying external markets. I think it's one of the areas that we're doing well. So we will continue to work with the training, we'll continue to work with the infrastructure build out to help especially those small farmers do better.
And Christopher Levy, what about the interaction between small farmers and the larger players such as yourself over at Jamaica Broilers? How is that managed to ensure that those small farmers are not left out of the mix even while you essentially drive the market forward?
Well, that's managed really through a high pro division. But we take it very seriously because we understand that the role that they play. So some of the things that we actually do is around our vet services. The interaction of the industry is so important that we have offered and work with small farmers, our vet and lab services. Because if they get a disease outbreak in a small farmer community, it impacts everybody, and vice versa. So there's a lot of communication, a lot of support from what I'd call the structured producers to a small farmer. So for example, a small farmer can bring in a tissue sample to our lab from their chickens. And we will do a report. There's no charge for it. We'll do a report, and in terms of whatever profiles or disease or whatever it is we need to research, and make sure, and then we communicate that back to the vet division, and there's a lot of linkages through. The other thing that I think is important in regards to this is that we do meet with the ministry regular and manage inventories and production. But when you have an event like what we went through, it's very difficult to have the kind of inventories carrying that's going to cover a 10-15% dropout of production. The best thing to do at that point is hold it tight. Yes, we want to make sure that there's no price gouging or taking advantage of anything, but it's really to get, as the minister is saying, get these small farmers back up as quick as possible. For example, if you remember, burial really hit down in our breadbasket in the St. Elizabeth area. And prices of vegetables went through the roof. They just weren't available. We were giving out seed and fertilizer again with the ministry just to get these farmers back up. And we're seeing the results of that now. These chicken farmers have taken a little bit longer in terms of recovery, but again, it's difficult for them because they're just backyard farmers, and priority number one is going to be their homes and their families, and then the chicken house, So I think it's important to really understand the depth of the industry is much more than just what I call the two structures and the linkages and communication with Ministry of Agriculture and the vet division and public health and all of that is very robust. Very. Answer question? Hello?
Yeah, we're here. Well, that's it for us. We really have to leave it there. And that's the CEO of Jamaica Broilers Group, Christopher Levy, and Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, Floyd Green. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
No problem.
Bye-bye now.
More after this break.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
We a big deal when we touch ground. Yeah, I can see what we're pulling up. Anything for the taste what we love. Barbecue, spicy and original, flavorful, crispy, irresistible. 3-piece with the fries and a Pepsi. Go get your one big deal, stop stress me. All when we dip on the toilet, no left foot.
Anything for the taste of a juicy, crunchy, irresistible KFC big deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries and Pepsi. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Mark your calendars. The biggest shopping experience of the year is back.
Get ready for the Jamaica Home Service Take Style Out 2024, happening October 24 to 26.
It's your chance to shop and save with incredible deals from your favorite stores. You don't want to miss out on the unbeatable deals happening all across the island.
Shop till it drop from Kingston to Montego Bay and everywhere in between.
Powered by NCB, Multilink, Island Car Rentals, and Edge 105 FM.
Catch the E-Zone with me, the Stinger Honeybee, alongside
Kareem Boy Ting.
as we turn up the heat
in the street. New show.
New vibe.
Same us.
Same us.
Monday to Friday, 3 to 5 p.m.
Right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
We'll bring you entertainment news.
We'll take away your Monday blues.
You don't want to miss a week with us.
We'll talk health.
Well,
jump into the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss the brain buster.
Or the crazy giveaways.
I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugatti.
Ow.
Choose your life insurance coverage, apply, and pay online. Live the e-life with Sagicor Life. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis, weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, Nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
It's 7:02. We're into the third and final hour, and we are going back over to Florida, where Hurricane Milton has left the state in quite a bad state. I understand at least 14 people have been killed, 6 in St. Lucie County, 2 in Pinellas County, 4 in Volusia County, 1 in Citrus County, and 1 in Hillsborough County. We have with us the Jamaica's Consul General to Miami, Oliver Meir, to give us an update as to the situation over there in Florida. Good afternoon, Sir Meir.
Hey, good afternoon. Happy to, and good evening to all the listeners.
It's good to hear from you, sir. How have things been with the passage of Hurricane Milton?
Well, we are cautiously optimistic that Jamaicans fared fairly well, based on the discussions we had with Jamaicans in several cities, Fort Myers, Tampa, Tallahassee, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Fort St. Lucie. We got some persons had some damage on their roofs, uprooted trees, flooding, loss of light and water, and some broken poles. But no injuries, and that we're aware of yet, and hopefully not, because light for the most part was down for at least 3 million persons. So there has been some restoration, but from the stories that for the persons that we have engaged, they seem to have fared fairly well with just minor damages. So that is the first report. What really surprised a lot of us here is the amount of tornadoes that were present. I mean, I think maybe up to 48 tornadoes across the state, which is, I understand, the most warnings ever issued for tornadoes took place during this hurricane. And I've seen quite a bit of damage associated with the tornado. And so, for example, Stewart City in Martin County, which is a sort of mid-central Florida, a number of houses were seriously damaged by tornadoes, and so that is the initial report that we have. As more persons get light and they're able to charge their phones, I'm sure we'll be hearing from more individuals. And so we're cautiously optimistic at this time. Don't get me wrong, a lot of damage has been done, and I'm sure we'll be hearing estimates coming forward from the authorities. But at this time, we are comforted that our Jamaicans seem to have fared fairly well.
Mm-hmm. And have you been able to get an idea of the status of the restoration of power? Because I know, as you mentioned, quite a number of persons are without electricity.
Yeah. So a number of homes, areas, cities have started to receive light. So the restoration has started in a significant way, and the first responders are out there, definitely doing their job, trying to get the place as restored as fast as possible. So some individuals who are out of light early in the day have reported that they are okay now. So we hope that will continue as briskly as it has been going so far.
And please tell me, Mr. Mayor, I hear from the Minister of Foreign Affairs here locally that, to the best of her knowledge, the diaspora members living in Florida, there's been no reports of deaths or injuries among those Jamaicans. Can you verify that now at this later hour in the evening that, to the best of your knowledge,
yes,
Jamaicans remain safe?
Yes. So far, we have not heard of any deaths involving Jamaicans. So that still remains. We know it. There have been some in Port St. Lucie, but so far no report of any Jamaica being involved. And I also want to extend, my sympathies to anyone who has lost a loved one or property, or not just for this hurricane, but the one 2 weeks before Hurricane Helen. My sympathies and our prayers extend to them at this time.
And have you received any requests for aid or assistance from anybody in the Jamaican diaspora to date?
No, not at all. Persons have just been, assessing. I mean, one person, their roof, they had a challenge with the roof, and they told me that they're going to be making a claim. So they're actually in the motion of getting a claim started. But one of the things I'm encouraging persons from early is that if you have had need any support, respective commissioners and mayors on the ground, feel free to reach out to them, and because a lot of resources are available from the state, both at the city level, at the state level, and at the federal level. I not to go into politics, but with November 5th on the way, I know there is that will also may have some influence. Let me put it that way, to ensure that, not to say they don't always move quickly, but I know that it's possible that they might be moving even faster, with a November 5th date here coming.
Right.
So persons can also reach out to a hotline, the FEMA hotline, who have had any sort of damage and need support. There is a FEMA hotline that persons can reach out to. And of course, the consulate, we will reopen tomorrow. We were on a couple of us were on the phones today. We had given out the number, and we were responding to a few queries. But we officially open back again tomorrow, and so advising everybody to come down, any of the needs that you may have, and you can reach out to us, any concerns, any help you need from your Jamaica consulate. We are a phone call away, or you can send an email and we will respond.
And just remind those who are listening of the contact number and the email address if they need to reach the Jamaican consulate.
Yes, you can reach us at 305-374-8431. And you can reach us on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, to the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami. You can also touch base with my pages as well, Mayor Oliver on Instagram and Facebook. And, we will certainly respond to you. And that is the update as of today, and hopefully it doesn't shift too much from what I've stated. But again, we're very cautious because this is not the first time we have dealt with hurricanes here. It's a regular occurrence, just like in the Caribbean, and so we're mindful of being very, knowing that information sometimes comes in very slowly, and as power is restored, more persons now will have access to charging their phones and being able now to reach out to ask for help. And so these remain initial reports, and we continue to wait for more official reports to come out from the city and the states and the federal folks.
That is Oliver Mayer. He's Jamaica's Consul General to Miami. Thank you for joining us, sir, and all the best to you and the Jamaican diaspora as well, just to Floridians in general over there as the storm passes. I hope all turns out well for everyone.
Thank you so much, and thank you for always covering these stories. And if those back home in Jamaica, if you have not reached out, if you have not been able to get your loved one as yet, don't be too anxious. I mean, there are some people, I've been working the phone for the last 2 days. There are some people, sometimes it will take me the whole day to get, just because their phones are not charged, they don't have access to electricity, and they're just out of reach at this time. So Not to stop checking, but just don't start to panic too quickly, because it may just be that they don't have the basics available to them at this time.
All the best, Mr. Mayor. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
All the best.
We're up on the break again, listeners, viewers, but after that we'll be taking your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. Come chat with us.
We a big deal when we touch ground. Yeah, I can see when we're pulling up. Anything for the taste what we love. Barbecue, spicy and original, flavorful, crispy, irresistible. 3-piece with the fries and a Pepsi. Go get your one big deal, stop stress me. All when we dip on the toilet, no left foot. It's a big deal.
Anything for the taste of a juicy, crunchy, irresistible KFC big deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries and Pepsi. KFC, it's finger licking good.
The 5% Club is now taking new members. Sounds exclusive? We don't want it to be. You see, it's made up of less than 5% of women who get screened for breast cancer in our country each year. At Sagicor, we've made it our mission to help to change the statistics. In fact, with 5,000 more women getting screened, we can officially become the 6% Club. And we won't stop there. So please get checked. Early detection saves lives. Go to bit.ly/5% Club JA.
As a parent, you give your children a good start in life. You nurture, protect, and guide them. Parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence. As your child grows and develops, there are many things you can do to help your child. Stay tuned to The Big Show, nationwide this morning, for parenting tips. Fridays at 6:53 a.m. Only here will you learn everything you need to know about parenting. Tips to help parents navigate the incredibly challenging and rewarding journey of child rearing. Parenting tips on Nationwide at 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
It is 16 minutes past 7 and we are taking your calls, listeners and viewers. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. Richie, you're on the line.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Sanjay.
Hello, Richie. How are you?
Voice. I'm a good man.
It's wonderful.
I understand that Dr. Clark will be on Computer Online next week, Wednesday.
That is correct.
Wait, is correct?
Yeah, I said that is correct.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm asking you guys to remind him that to ask Dr. Clark about the Think Talk report. We need to know about it by now. No, I was just talking to a lady about it. You know what they say? Them not publish it because what they wait so long to publish it, because you see if it was the PMP that published long time in a man. That is one of the problems that we have with JLP. They are very slow and lazy in terms of disseminating information.
But
you know what I think that
Richie, we said this already, that report is not coming, at least not in the format that you think it is.
Well, wherever format coming, we need to know.
I agree. We can put it to the minister as to when they're going to open those archives. But if you're expecting a physical document with a recommendation and a conclusion, you're not going to be getting that.
Explain explain that to me because I'm to understand. I'm not bright like you, so explain to me.
Because, so they carried out, the FinSAC commissioners carried out their work, and they were to put together a report. That did not happen. I forget the reasoning as to why it did not happen. But what we will be given access to is the interviews, the records, and all the information that they had gathered over the period of time. But you're not going to get a nice, polished, finished document that you can look through and say X happened and it caused Y.
So it is just we who know who have an idea will have to continue to talk then.
Well, I'm sure they have deeper insights into what actually happened, and I'm sure that would be visible in the work that they did. And I just think it would be better to say that journalists and other more entrepreneurial people will be able to take that information and package it in a way that is more consumable.
So, is it that you're saying to me that something would be hidden then?
I don't think anything's going to be hidden. Because it's going to be a public archive, meaning you can go and access it if you want.
Well, whatever it is, we need to know.
All right, Richie. All right.
I'm not finished yet, brother.
I was just saying.
No. What up now? As I say, the JLP is very slow and lazy in terms of disseminating information. You see, one of the information that I think the government should be holding, publishing, like everybody know, about, freeing heart and no guarantor for university students. Because I'm going to tell you something. A lady called George Davis about 3 weeks ago. And she called Cliff one day last week again. And this Cliff let that know that art is free. A big percent of people doesn't know. I've been, over the years, I've been encouraging high school students who want to go to school and telling them, this is your future. And it is just one high school student that I talked to who actually said no about art. They don't know. And I don't even government even know. There's a lady young lady that's always in the Water Market with her mother selling. And one day I stopped with her and said, good afternoon. I said, good afternoon. I said, can I ask some personal questions? She said, yes. I said, you intend to go back to school? She said, yes. She said, I went to Wallaby and I passed 6 subjects, including English and maths. And I asked her, what's the plan forward? And she told me, I look plan how she going to get some money to go back to school. 2 days after, heart free. And I booked her into the town. I said, heart is free. And I said, if you go in school full time, you're getting $67,000 per month. Said, really? I did pass by our place about 2 days after ago. Went there as a matter of fact. You know what they're going to say? Mommy, see, man, I tell you about, our mother face light up. I'm saying to you, a big percentage of people doesn't know about art. And I don't know if the government know, but that is something that they need to push out there. Let everybody know that art is free. And I'm going to tell you something, tell them. You see, the parents will vote jail people because they want their children to go to school. I'm going to tell you the next story again. A lady tell me about these 2 ladies, young ladies. They said they were PMP supporters. And they're going to heart. And they're going to vote jail people because they know the government cannot send somebody to school and pay them. Mr. Wonis, only to make the public know about these things. And you will be way ahead because this is one of the investments that the government will have in the next couple of years, to be freeing these people, because you see, a skilled nation, an educated nation, have to be a productive nation.
Indeed. Thank you, Richie. Probably you need to also continue to do the footwork for your party so that people can know about the work.
Richie, why don't you go?
The foot soldiers are important.
Better, why don't you practice what you preach, Richie? You can go sign up to a hard course,
Me?
Yeah, you.
Free.
Here's a big Rob over in Portmore. Same sign up and him go get him plumbing certificate.
Tell me what go do.
There are many things you can go over that to do, Richie.
You don't
engineering. I think they have AI over heart now. They have the Hard Coding Academy, Richie. There are many things you can go to heart to do.
Listen to me. One day you will get to know me. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Richie. Thank you as always. Thank you, Richie. Our next caller is Damien. Hi, Damien.
Good night, Sanjay and Javan.
Good evening, Damien.
Good night.
Good evening. I saw you guys make me go viral because the last conversation I had with you, I realized that I was on YouTube and spreading on the internet.
You were?
I guess. But I called tonight about 2 things. You know, I'm a person who loves to give advice and stuff. I just don't criticize, you know. So my first one would be, and I didn't listen to your guys' conversation about today that you guys did have set out for about voter apathy, you know. But I really do think that one of the things is that this generation are not interested in voting is because they are of the generation of fast food, fast going, everything has to be fast, you know? And I think that, well, I hope that they could come up with a system that will enhance needs for serve them in a better way. You know, since it's that secure, and maybe they could build a app, something that is safe, you know, who can, you know, because someone would love to be in their living room and just vote. You understand me? So maybe that's the way they should go, rather than, you know, this old traditional system that a long line. Because even me myself, I'm if I should join a fast food line, you know.
But I hear you, Damien, and I agree with you to an extent. But here the other challenge, and let us flip it. We understand the tribal nature of our politics here in this country, and we understand how individuals, they do not trust those within the system, and that's why even within the polling station we have this thing of indoor agents from each political party just to ensure that the process is free and fair. So while I agree with you that voting by mail or electronic voting is a necessity if we want to get young people involved, you also have to cross that hurdle that we have with our tribal nature of the politics and people not trusting others within the system, and the voter intimidation also.
Yeah, one could understand that. But like I say, I mean, the media, which is the next story what I was going to move on to, but I think the media has something to play in the essence of, you know, scaring a lot of people you know, everybody think that Jamaica is corrupt. I mean, corruption is everywhere, you know. Even where I live, corruption is there, you know. I mean, but I think that's a way forward, because I can't see myself joining a long line, wasting hours, unless I'm motivated so much to lose a DP or, you know, to lose some precious time that I could spend with my child. So maybe that's a way for them to come up with something and make sure they can, you know, please the doubters them, that it's a better way and it's safe. You know, I mean, people do banking, online banking. You know, maybe they need to, you know, do it in a phase basis. You know, just as how the
there's a difference, you know, Damien. There's a difference. Yeah, but there's a difference between online banking and voting, you know, and we understand the politics. Jamaicans take the politics very seriously.
See, I am all for. I'm not one.
What about the needs? What about the needs? I truly believe that the needs has a role to play in our society, and I think I mean, if it's that secure as what I'm hearing, then I think that should bring some, you know, some levelness to this whole scare tactics of, you know, people mindset and all this stuff. Maybe that could be a silver bullet, you know, and maybe if the media jump on and start to assure people that, you know, they can be a way. Then, because I don't think, honestly, then if that's not the way, then I don't think we're going to see anything better, to be honest with you.
I'm not one who's shackled to tradition, you know, but I don't like this idea of you simply sit in your house and vote by phone, similar to voting for like Rising Stars or something like that. I think a certain level of, I don't want to call it inconvenience, but a certain level of engagement with the process is important in something as significant as voting for a government.
You know, Russian, you know, I just think that maybe that's a way the experts are looking. You know, I think the needs can do it, because if it's that secure, I think we can, you know, develop some. That's where the world is going. I mean, we got to embrace it, technology, and just let go the traditional way.
Yeah, I'm all for early voting and making this and simplifying the system, but I think it should still be an activity that requires you to go to a place and vote.
we can have that alongside it, you know, just in case for those party fans who are willing to jump up and go out and vote and show we can have that, but also we can also have a platform that is safe enough, because I do believe that we are technology can make it that safe that it will, you know.
I recall, I believe it's Australia where voting is a mandatory thing, and if you fail to do so, you have to pay a fine or present yourself to a magistrate with a reasonable explanation as to why you have chosen not to vote.
Siobhan, if we go that direction, though, I promise you we'll have a number of Jamaicans going to that polling station and spoiling the ballot.
Possibly.
No, I actually think that for me who love democracy, I don't think no one should. That's something like someone holding a gun to your head and sending you out to vote. I think that if you want participation, you know, in people, is to make it more accessible and easier to numerate. And my second thing is the discussion about this media thing. And, you know, to be honest, Siobhan, I mean, I have so much respect for the media, but I also think that the media contribute to a lot of these things. You know, I mean, there are not fairness in a lot of reports, you know, and there are no balance in it. Well, I can't say that for Nationwide because that's why I listen to Nationwide, because I like the knowledge that I learned from Nationwide, but I can't say that for many other other sources that give information, because one of the things that I love about Nationwide, and many can testify about it, is that when I heard Cliff have to come on and apologize, you know, for a wrong story, and I've heard many of you. I even love the other day when time, you know, the gentleman and you were defending your position, and you know, and you felt that you was wrong and strong, and you came out and you apologized. You understand me? And a lot of media hurt people, and you know, people go read other stuff and find out that and they didn't even come back in the space and correct it. You understand me? And so people grow in a sense, and they are growing away from the media. I wonder why they're not. People are moving towards the internet for their news and stuff. And maybe you know, rather than criticize, maybe the people have a point why they are saying stuff like that. And maybe the media need to take a step back rather than criticizing them, are feeling fear and look into themselves, you know, and say what we are doing wrong, why a percentage of people think that we are biased.
Yes.
You know? And because we need the media, we need their expertise, we need them, we can't do without them, because, you know, a lot of things that has unfolded, really, we hear it from the media. But I do think that there are reasons, in my sense and in a lot of people's sense, why they are saying these things. That a lot of these stations are not really clean, you know. They can't come clean as if the boy, you know, they're not for one political party or some of they can't vent some of their stuff, you know. Because when I read, I mean, especially with the good things and the bad things, you know, they always put the negative. There's so much good things, and you know, sometimes I don't even want to read the news, to be honest, or listen to the news, because sometimes I take a day, a night off, or a day off. I say, look, I can't foster myself with so much of these, you know, negative things.
Well,
so maybe
I hear you, Damien.
To give some good stories.
Hear you.
You know, like, and another thing I want for you guys, I haven't seen you guys put out any more of those documentaries. Please. I am my wife.
Well, Sonya's here,
and Sonya's giving me the look. I'm sure one is coming.
All right, we have to leave it there with Damien, but thank you as always. Thank you, Damien.
Rupert, good evening.
We have Rupert.
Yeah, good evening to you. Two things I want to raise. One of the issues I want to raise is regards to voter apathy. Yes, there's voter apathy, and the former director of elections, Eric Fisher, alluded to that. That it's a worldwide phenomenon, more so Jamaica. But I believe if the electoral office and those persons who are who are managing there, if they pay some more attention to cleaning up the voters list, I think that just by default the percentages would go up, because for my little foray into canvassing, I was surprised to find a particular voters list with lots of persons who would have passed, would have deceased, and persons who would have migrated for decades, and and a robust re-verification process program. Those things would be picked up, if not real time.
I don't think though, Rupert, I agree with you that we need to clean up the voters list, but I don't think that we would see a significant jump in the voter turnout. I still think that it would be relatively low, but I agree with you that there will be some changes though.
Yeah, yes, but if we had, for example, last election in total we're at 37%, and I'm saying that if we can net an additional 2 or 3 percentage points to 40%. 40% sound better than 37% by any standards. I'm just saying that there's work to be done, and I don't know the job description of those persons who work at the electoral office. But between elections, they could do some work, man. They could do some work in trying to see how they can at least.
No, but they're not sitting and, to be very honest, though, Rupert, they're not sitting and twiddling their fingers, There's a lot of work that they do behind the scenes in between elections.
I'm just saying they are particularly there to monitor and to supervise elections. We have elections once every 5 years, or if they are by-elections. But I'm just saying that there's a lot of work to be done. So let us see them do the work in that regard. The next point I have is with statin. It surprises me that they could come to the man or to the woman, as precise as that you said, the 600,000 persons are outside the labor force. X amount of persons, are employed, and they can tell you all of those figures of a definite. I'm just wondering, I don't know the method that they use, but I'm saying that they have been trying to count 3 million people for the last 2 years. Trying to count 3 million people for the last 2 years, and I can even arbitrarily ask the question to many persons: Have you been counted? Have you been counted? No, I haven't seen a census taker. You haven't seen them since they started work. But at the end of the day, that aside, the statin can come out with an exact figure to say that 600 and whatever the figure is, persons are outside the labor force. So I'm just wondering what is the method used for them to be so exact and so precise with that information? It'd be useful for them to come on the program and tell us how they come to have such exact figures, and they can't count 3 million people for the last 2 years.
Two different methodologies used in those surveys and the census, sir.
So it can be exact. Then it has to be an.
It
cannot be.
The labor force survey is not an exactitude. It's not an exact number. It is it's an approximate figure based on a formula.
They don't. When they report it, they don't say that.
No, but it's a formula that is so precise and so refined.
The news read just this evening told you to the man how many persons are outside the labor. They didn't say an approximate figure.
No, but
they said that is the amount of persons outside the labor force.
Sir, the formula is so precise and refined over the years that what they give you is a number that is to the, I won't say to the letter, but to the best knowledge, as precise as it could possibly be. But it is not an exact figure. They're not saying that there's exactly 600 and X people in the labor force.
I could take it, and I've been taking it for a number of years. But because of what I am seeing, or what I'm and the flaws that I'm seeing with the census You understand? And their inability to complete a census exercise. So
No, the failure to complete the census exercise has nothing to do with the formulas at play. No, it is not anything to do with the formula at play. Trust me, there's quite a few failures that have led to that census exercise not being completed at this point, but it is not the formula.
I don't even want to tell you what I want to do. So just throw up when I hear them name call. Because they have done such a poor job in collect, just counting people so that we can get information.
But it's not just a count of people, you know. There's other things that the census checks, such as education values, housing situation. So it's not just a count, you know.
And the let me tell you this. The census was supposed to be completed in 3 months. And then they extended it to 6 months. Chevron, it has been 2 years.
No, I'm not trying to defend the failure to get the census completed is a failure.
It was given a project nationwide, and you had that overrun in terms of time.
I don't disagree with you there. I do not disagree with you there. I don't disagree with you there. There are a lot of questions to answer as to why the census has turned out the way it is. I do not disagree with you there. But as I just say that it's not a failure of formula. It's a failure of implementation in this instance.
It's a failure of management, and those persons who are up there, they need to just decide, they say, boy, I have failed. Go for early retirement and take with themselves. It is a poor reflection to Dr. Nigel Clark. That is one of the unfinished business that he's going to have to leave. Remember, it is his portfolio, you know. That fall under his portfolio. Yeah. And he was the person who came and announced that within 6 months, 3 to 6 months, would have a result. It's 2 years and counting. And he's going to leave to take up post elsewhere. Unfinished business has started. It's an embarrassment, man. Embarrassment, and those persons, those managers who are up there, them figures take with themselves, brother. Me I tell you that. Good evening.
Good evening. Faithful evening. How are you doing?
I'm very fine, thank you, Chevron. Good evening, Chevron. Good evening, Sanjay.
Hi, Faithful.
The private sector organization the other day put out said they want to bring independent and emancipation on a weekend, Friday and Monday. And most person was up in arms. Historian all was up in arms. I want to know, right? I want to know. One of the main reasons why we have emancipation is the fighting for our freedom, and also what the right to vote, was that included in
it? Emancipation.
Right.
I don't think that would be formed a part of emancipation.
But the right to vote is a part of independence.
Yes.
Right.
But remember that is universal adult suffrage from 1944. That ultimately sets the right.
But independence in terms of the right to essentially elect your leaders. Right. Yeah.
Your freedom.
But what I find most person, one of the reasons why we have one of the reasons we have so low voter turnout. It does. Some of us in media, they say they don't participate in voting, and they say this ugliness, and in some variable, and they encourage the sentiment. Put it this way: the sentiment that they put out, they give the impression of those of us that vote are of the lower class, and they are better than those of us who vote, and I find that very insulting sometimes. I know the last election that we have, some person who was mourning the fact that 37% of person vote. So the government that we have, whether it's PNP or JP, the government that we have is a minority government, and they don't choose
sorry, I don't subscribe to that at all, because the type of system that we operate under, which is the first past the post system,
no, I get that.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
I was not saying that I subscribe, you know. I was just saying about a sentiment I share. That some person was saying is a minority government is not truly illegitimate. Because they don't get up to 50%. So I am saying, one of the oldest party in Jamaica is what you call the Marcus Garvey movement. One of. And I know the Marcus Garvey movement, they are advocating for America should expunge the record of Marcus Garvey. And I think to myself that Marcus Garvey fight for so much more than expungement. Marcus Garvey was in business, was in politics, and I find that Pan-African, I find that most of them they choose the easier route, where they use a mic and they shout the loudest in the mic. But when it comes down to do most of the things that Marcus Garvey himself advocate for, they shy away. Because they are money for that only 30% of the people in Jamaica vote, and because they don't trust this government, that government. But they have the opportunity to vote for a government that they like, and they cannot say that they are not involved in politics. Because most of them, their sentiment that they express is far worse than Andrew and Mark Golding. Most of them are steep in the politics, but they say one thing that they do involve in politics, but they mourn the fact that they should organize and get more the vote, and they have avenue. They don't have to vote for neither PNP nor JLP. They can use the same Marcus Garvey movement because Marcus Garvey set the platform. The problem I have it, most of the platform that Marcus Garvey set on, they don't follow. They don't follow it. Even Haile Selassie was a political movement that the farmer he had to fight his way through. It was not only happen in speech. So I am saying that we are the biggest danger to ourselves in terms of say participation and to get a better Jamaica, a betterment for ourselves. What I find about we are very selective. We choose the easier route where we use the microphone and we talk a whole lot. But when come to do the nitty-gritty and the hard work, we shy away from it and we criticize and say, boy, it's only people to get a vote. But because we as an individual, we vacate the space and we don't use it when we have the opportunity to do.
I hear you.
Part of the yeah.
But I don't think it's anything as inspired as people not trusting the government as to why they don't vote. I think for the majority of Jamaicans, they simply just don't care. They're not attached to the process. They don't see the process affecting them one way or the other, regardless of who is in power. So they just do not engage with it.
Seven is a part of laziness.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree with you there.
I wouldn't really classify it as laziness, though, Faithful. I just think that people are not satisfied with the system overall, and it has nothing to do with
why are they not satisfied? Why are they not satisfied?
Because everyone lives in their own reality, and some people will say they are not seeing what is happening for them to vote, and others will say that my MP is not doing anything. I don't see why I need to go and vote. Another person will say, regardless of which political party is in power, I am not seeing a change in my situation.
Politics is about organization. And again I say where I start from. If you take the example of Marcus Garvey, you see what I mean. Marcus Garvey laid the foundation that we should build on. You don't tell me that the platform that Jamaica Labour Party or PNP are on, you don't subscribe to that.
But here the problem is Cleveland. Go ahead.
So I'm saying that start build on the foundation that Marcus Garvey laid. And build on that foundation, and then you will have the majority, so you can shape the society that we need. That would be a better platform.
But Faithful, people are not motivated to come out and vote. We know, and we can look back on the days of Marcus Garvey, people like Rosa Parks who push certain movement. People are not encouraged by those things, unfortunately. So they are not motivated to come out and vote at all. And it is very unfortunate, but think about it. When you speak to some of these young people, the first thing that they're going to say is, how is that going to help me? Are you going to pay me to vote? That's the problem. People they're not interested. It's very unfortunate, but it's the
They want
reality.
tangible physical benefits from voting.
Yes, Sanjay, I agree with you in that sense. But that is only one aspect. What about the aspect to which I spoke to?
I hear you faithfully, but we have other people on the line, so.
Thank you, Faithful.
Cleveland, good evening.
Cleveland.
Yes, good evening to you both. Now, for a
How you
person
do?
who work in the election, when election time comes, you don't have to. The only way why you may come and stand up in a line for long, is because you don't have nothing, you're not even an ID or so on. But if you have all of these things that is required of you,
The fast
you go
process.
through as nice as ever. People just try and make an qualify excuse because we don't recognize the democracy that we have here. Well, we must make good use of it.
But I hear you in Cleveland. I think Sanjay has said it quite. The people who are not voting is not. I don't even think it's so much the inconvenience or any inspired philosophy. They just simply don't see the point. They go about their lives and they don't see a change in government affecting how they go about that life one way or the other.
But that is not true, because as anything happens to who they call in the police.
Yeah, but Cleveland and you and I
understand
agree
that,
on that, We understand that, and I'll give you an example. I teach a class at UCC, and Cleveland, it's a politics class, and every semester the first question that I will ask the students: how many of you actually vote? And it's a class maybe of 40, 50 students, and if I get 5 or 10, I get a lot, and that's every semester. And when you ask them why, they said, "Sir, I don't see how it's going to affect the process. I don't see how it's going to affect me, and I don't see why I need to go out and vote."
Order. Yes, but the same taxpayers are the one who are willing to vote. Help them through school. However small it is, that is a reality. The taxpayers help them. They get anything happens to them, they end up in the hospital. Or definitely not them, their children, their family. You see? And what they're saying that they're not getting anything from it.
Because Jamaica is an overly pragmatic country now, Cleveland. We've abandoned this notion of civic pride, It's entirely a pragmatic country we live in, where a tangible benefit is a physical benefit in terms of, if I voted for somebody, will I get $5,000 more in my pocket tomorrow?
That should never be. That should never be. And some of them just making plain excuse for them not voting. You see? They want everybody else to do things for them. But I would recommend that.
But that's a failure. That's a failure of our political directorate over the years, though, Cleveland, because they have brought the political system to this nature of voting. We've abandoned the philosophies and the ideologies that drove the nation in the past, and it's just a simple matter as, I want to go to school, to get a job, to get more pay, to do this, to do that, to do why. That is what our society has boiled down to. We just create workers for the sake of working, and people who don't want to work are going to find some other means to get money. That is what our society is now.
It's sad though. It's sad that our people, and the people who you think become more educated and have an understanding, that was some of the main one not coming out to vote.
They're not interested.
And them leave it to the younger, the smaller people. Them sometimes just use it for fun to vote. It need more of those type of people to be a part of the voting system. You see?
We need more Jamaicans with civic pride. That's simply it. We need more Jamaicans to understand why they are Jamaican. And I think that's just what is missing. They just physically exist in Jamaica, but they don't consider themselves Jamaicans. I think the best times when we consider ourselves Jamaicans is during Olympic events. I think that's when we actually have a sense of, yes, this is Jamaica.
Yeah. Siobhan and Sanjay, did I hear something that the mayor from Mandeville? I noticed that newscast never come back on in the 6 o'clock news. When the police and them having something and he's complaining that, boy, the era where they have the curfew shut down, people can't do their business and what have you, and the police is saying that the people them who doing the scamming and so on, there's where we're having a lot of the problem. And he said something. Huh?
About the illicit enrichment? That's the one you're talking about? Yeah, I heard it.
It's like him actually agreeing to whatever happening there. Not for the curfew.
I heard it,
the
you
other
know.
way.
I heard it, and I was a little bit confused.
Yeah. I was trying to get it back because the time I was sort of busy, but I know I hear it, and it never come back in the 6 o'clock news. So I wonder if they call and said, drop that one.
I don't think
No, I'll tell you the
outsiders can't influence the newsroom, Cleveland.
No.
I say
All right.
Angelo on
Interesting time
YouTube.
we are in here, sir.
I see. Say Angelo on YouTube is saying
all
stop
the best.
blaming politicians for personal responsibility. I'm not blaming
No,
the
man, I
politicians
agree.
for people
I
not
don't-
wanting to vote. You know, I'm saying that they have conditioned people to vote for a certain reason, and now it is going to be entirely difficult to break that cycle. That is what I'm saying. Remember we were talking about yesterday about this thing about pothole free by 2003. It's slogans like that why our voting apathy is the way it is today.
You know, there have been so many promises made over the many years, and I agree with you, Siobhan. It's one of the reasons why individuals have come not to trust our politicians. But outside of that, we also have to recognize our civic responsibility to the country. And when we decide not to vote, the challenges that will arise and the issues that may arise in not voting, we have to come out and vote. And when we have a country where 35% or 37% of the electorate are coming out to vote, we're in a serious problem.
Precisely. And it's not an avoidable problem. And that's why I appreciate the reintroduction of civics in school, but it has to go beyond that. We really need to, at every level, rebuild a sense of Jamaican pride. Not just pride in doing well in the athletics, but a sense of nationalism and patriotism that existed in the 1980s and the 1970s. I mean, I understand those periods at times had their ideological difficulties, but there's one thing you can say: Jamaicans from that period loved their country.
Yes.
And they had a vision for their country and where they wanted the country to go. We don't have a vision for Jamaica anymore. Jamaica is essentially a farm to get a degree, get a job, to go elsewhere and to do other things.
And unfortunately, young people nowadays, what they do is their electoral ID is just for identification.
Precisely. Exactly. What other reason do you need it? And
unfortunately.
when needs comes around, why would you need the electoral ID after that?
I don't know. And it's something that we've been talking about for such a long time. How are we going to get individuals to be interested in the process? That is a challenge that I see, is a conversation that we have had for such a long time. And honestly, I'm not so sure I'm seeing that pathway to get people really to be interested in the process of voting.
Precisely. And I don't think we get there by appealing to the lowest common denominator. It's going to be a long, arduous process of rebuilding a sense of what it means to be Jamaican. Not just a place on a map, just what it means to be. If you go to America, and I know America has its own problems, but Americans have a sense of patriotism and nationalism to their country. Even if they quibble over the left and right ideology, they have a sense of what it means to be American exceptionalism, as they would put it. We need something like that in Jamaica again.
Or could it be, though, Siobhan, that they have made the process of voting easier, which probably is something that we also have to look at, as we have been discussing today.
That plays a role too, but as I said, I'm still not with this whole idea of voting from your phone, like you're saying, this is my next rising star.
No, absolutely not. I don't agree that we should lower it to that, because there has to be some level of integrity within the system. So definitely not. But maybe we need to look at mail-in ballots and early voting as a way of trying to get more people involved in the system.
Agreed. But Sanjay, it's 7:58. I think it's time we wrap up before I get the evil eye from Bugs.
Yep.
So, listeners, YouTubers, thank you for joining us as usual. And thanks to our super producer today, who is Sonia Stewart, who filled in for Dana Davy, who is off on vacation. Our technical operator,
who traced me out today, Siobhan. Sorry, go ahead.
Our technical operator, Andrew Glenn Anderson, who don't like me call him the girl them tugs, but that's fine. And all of my compatriots in the news and production department, led by the capable Cara Powell. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
My name is Sanjay Lewis, wishing you a wonderful evening.
So where you get?
The new Popeyes Blackened Chicken Sandwich